Chapter 1069 Falling Sky Valley, 2, It must be my peerless school's young lord, the peerless school warden said with affirmation, though he was very confused as well. Why did their peerless school's young lord suddenly come to Falling Sky Valley? Go. Let's welcome the young lord together, said the peerless school warden. Then, everyone rose and walked out of Falling Sky Valley. Outside Falling Sky Valley, Yi Qingtang stood far away. Several Falling Sky Valley senior executives and disciples were already beside her, and their attitudes were extremely respectful. A young lord was an unparalleled powerful figure of this mainland, and a young lord's visit was a great honor to Falling Sky Valley. However, the Falling Sky Valley senior executives were extremely curious as to why a dignified young lord would be at Falling Sky Valley. A while later, Peerless School's warden and disciples, Perfected Xianqian, Full Moon Peak Master, and the rest walked over briskly. Everyone was surprised when they saw Yi Qingtang. No one had expected that not only was this young lord a lady, she was also so young. Looking from her appearance, she seemed to be in her teens only. Of course, regardless of her age, no one dared to belittle a young lord. This, the peerless school warden sized up Yi Qingtang in surprise. This lady was not from their peerless school but was indeed an authentic young lord. There was only a handful of young lords on this mainland, but why did a young lord suddenly appear out of nowhere? Greetings, young lord. Perfected Xianqian, Full Moon Peak Master, and the rest immediately bowed to Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang nodded. Dare I ask for your name and origin? The peerless school warden asked. Who are you? Yi Qingtang looked at the peerless school warden and said coldly. I am a warden of the peerless school. The peerless school warden said with a haughty expression. Get lost. Yi Qingtang shot him a cold look and said rather impatiently with a frown. You, the peerless school warden was instantly enraged after hearing Yi Qingtang. He was a warden of Peerless School and represented the entire Peerless School when outside, yet this lady dared to tell him to get lost. So what if she was a young lord? Their Peerless School had 4 young lords. Young lord, this is a Peerless School envoy. I believe you aren't foreign with the Peerless School. There are 4 young lords in the Peerless School. Full Moon Peak Master, Xianyuan Yi, looked at Yi Qingtang and said. What are you? Yi Qingtang's eyes landed on Xianyuan Yi. Yi Qingtang clearly remembered that before she left Falling Sky Valley, Xianyuan Yi was after her life. Now that she was back, she had to settle this score with Xianyuan Yi as well. Seeing that Yi Qingtang behaved this way, Full Moon Peak Master did not dare to utter another word. Given his cultivation realm, the young lord before him could easily take his life with just a thought if she wanted to. As such, Xianyuan Yi did not dare to continue speaking. Xianyuan Yi looked at Yi Qingtang discreetly. And his brows were deeply furrowed. For some reason, he felt that this unrivaled young lord before him was a little familiar looking, as though he had seen her somewhere before, but he could not recall where. Young lord, may I know if you have any instructions for gracing Falling Sky Valley with your presence? Perfected Xianqian looked at Yi Qingtang and asked. I passed by coincidentally and wanted to take a look at Falling Sky Valley, Yi Qingtang said. Chapter 1070 Casual Stroll. Perfected Xianqian was doubtful but did not dare to speak as he wished when just inches away from an unparalleled young lord. Since that's the case, please enter Falling Sky Valley, young lord. Perfected Xianqian immediately took a small step back and gestured to Yi Qingtang politely. Yi Qingtang did not say a word and entered Falling Sky Valley. After knowing that a young lord appeared in Falling Sky Valley, both peak masters of Watercut Peak and Blue Cloud Peak showed up. However, Yi Qingtang only talked to Perfected Xianqian and did not really bother with the other peak masters. At this instant, Perfected Xianqian was walking in the lead while everyone else was beside Yi Qingtang and did not dare to say anything. No one was clear of this young lord's intentions for coming to Falling Sky Valley, and Perfected Xianqian could only be extremely cautious. However, the peerless school warden and the other 3 peak masters were rather impatient, especially the peerless school warden. Outside, he represented peerless school, but the person who accompanied the foreign young lord was not them. What was this? The peerless school warden sized up Yi Qingtang. She was extremely foreign and was not a young lord from peerless school, Phantom Valley, or Baiming Manor. Everyone, we are not yet done settling our matters today. Very quickly, the peerless school warden swept a look across Perfected Xianchen and the rest. Perfected Xianchen frowned deeply. He looked at the young lord before him and said apologetically, "Young lord. We still have some matters to discuss. If you have time, how about staying in Falling Sky Valley for 2 days?" Upon hearing that, Yi Qingtang sneered on the inside but maintained an indifferent expression. "Don't bother with me. You all can just discuss your matters." Perfected Xianchen nodded. After giving Yan Shu instructions, Perfected Xianchen returned to the main hall with the peerless school envoy. Currently, Yan Shu was accompanying Yi Qingtang cautiously. This was also Yan Shu's first time seeing and standing so close to a young lord. "You are Yan Shu." Yi Qingtang's eyes landed on Yan Shu as she commented softly. "Young lord, I am indeed Yan Shu." Yan Shu did not dare to look Yi Qingtang in the eye, thus, he lowered his head and replied respectfully. "I am talking to you. Why are you not looking at me?" When Yi Qingtang saw the usually serious Yan Shu's current behavior, she could not help but laugh in her heart. Upon hearing that, Yan Shu was startled and hurriedly looked up at Yi Qingtang. Their eyes met. When Yan Shu looked at the almost perfect face that was inches away from him, his heart skipped a beat. Not only was this young lord young, but her appearance was also truly extraordinary, like that of an otherworldly fairy. "Bring me around the valley," Yi Qingtang looked at Yan Shu and said. Noted. Yan Shu hurried walked at the front and brought Yi Qingtang around the valley. Sometime later, the two of them arrived at a training field and saw a few disciples exchanging blows. Just as Yi Qingtang stopped in her tracks, she suddenly heard a loud rumble. A flashing shadow of a male shot towards her like an arrow. With sharp eyes and agile hands, Yi Qingtang immediately caught that figure. Looking at the enraged male before her, Yi Qingtang recognized that this person was none other than her master's disciple, Ji Yixuan. "Thank you, junior sister." Ji Yixuan was boiling with anger when he took a look at Yi Qingtang and actually did not recognize Yi Qingtang at once. Although Ji Yixuan had seen Yi Qingtang's female appearance before, a lot of time had passed since then. Chapter 1071 Falsely accused of a capital offense. When Ji Yixuan was in the formidable Heaven's dynasty, Yi Qingtang had rescued him from the hands of the Yunshao sect disciples. So, of course, Ji Yixuan had seen her real face. However, some time had passed, and it was natural for Ji Yixuan not to recognize her immediately. Presumably, Yan Shu had taken Yi Qingtang for an ordinary Falling Sky Valley disciple. But at that moment, Yan Shu was frowning deeply. This Ji Yixuan was actually addressing a young lord as his junior sister. Did he have a death wish? Ha! Ji Yixuan, you are so weak even though you are the Valley Master's disciple. I can see that most of perfected Xuanshan's sect is useless. Before Yan Shu could open his mouth to remind him to maintain the act, a white-robed man suddenly stared at Ji Yixuan and laughed coldly. "Xianyuan Lai, you are spouting nonsense." Ji Yixuan shouted in anger. The person who had just spoken was Xianyuan Lai, the grandson of the Full Moon Peak Master, Xianyuan Yi. When Yi Qingtang left the Falling Sky Valley, she planned to head to the Dragon Vein. Xianyuan Lai had left the valley to block her way and kill her but was defeated by Yi Qingtang. After that, Xianyuan Yi had arrived in time to pursue Yi Qingtang, intending to kill her. Yi Qingtang still remembered these past hostilities. Naturally, her present return to the Falling Sky Valley was to call in her debts. Humph! Xian Yuanlai immediately shouted coldly. Ji Yishuan, you stole the Full Moon Sutra from the Full Moon Peak. That is a capital offense. Xian Yuanlai, you framed me. Ji Yishuan bellowed coldly. What a joke. Our Full Moon Peak's Full Moon Sutra was found on your person. How dare you argue against such compelling evidence? Clearly, perfected Xuanzhan's disciples are all like that. Xian Yuanlai laughed coldly. Yan Shu could not help but frown at the scene before him. He immediately smiled at Yi Qingtang apologetically. He advanced to face Ji Yishuan and asked, Yishuan, what's going on? This Xian Yuanlai took the Full Moon Peak's Full Moon Sutra under the guise of wanting to spar with me. He doctored the Full Moon Sutra and then secretly hid it on my person, but he said that I stole the Full Moon Peak's Full Moon Sutra. Ji Yishuan said to Yan Shu. When he heard Ji Yixuan's words, Yan Shu looked at Xian Yuanlai meaningfully. Full Moon Peaks was growing stronger, and it had asked Master Perfected Xianchen to give up his position as Valley Master. In addition, Watercut Peak and Blue Cloud Peak had declared that they would be on the side of Full Moon Peak. During the past few days, Xian Yuanlai had been going around provoking Full Moon Peak members and had become increasingly unrestrained. But they had not imagined that he would frame someone. Stealing a sutra was a capital offense. Even though he was the Valley Master, Perfected Xianchen could not protect Ji Yishuan unless the latter could produce evidence. In addition, the Full Moon Sutra was indeed found on Ji Yixuan's person. Everyone had seen it, and there was no way he could deny it. Yishuan, do you have any evidence that Xian Yuanlai framed you? Yan Shu looked at Ji Yishuan and frowned as he spoke. If Ji Yishuan could produce evidence, he would be saved, and he could also denounce Xian Yuanlai for defamation. This. Yan Shu, I have no evidence, Ji Yishuan shook his head. Although he knew what had happened, he could not prove that Xian Yuanlai had framed him. Xian Yuanlai had certainly planned this for a long time. He would not be caught out on any of the details. Yan Shu, this beast, has been provoking our kin and now has framed me. Clearly, he has ambitions regarding Full Moon Peak and is about to act. Ji Yishuan said hastily. Was anyone unaware of his ambitions towards Full Moon Peak? Chapter 1072 The death penalty is inevitable. Yishuan, don't talk nonsense. Yan Shu glanced at Ji Yishuan. Although everyone was aware of these matters, it was better not to say them out loud, especially in public. Ji Yishuan, I think you are just spouting nonsense because you know you have committed a capital offense and cannot avoid death, Xian Yuanlai laughed coldly. He then faced a few justice wardens who were standing nearby, cupped his fists, and said smilingly, Lords, there is irrefutable evidence that Ji Yishuan stole my Full Moon Peak's Full Moon Sutra and committed a capital offense. With that, a warden of the Hall of Justice nodded and said, We already know that. We have come today to capture Ji Yishuan and bring him back to the Hall of Justice for questioning. When he heard that, Xian Yuanlai's lips curved upwards and arched in a cold, mysterious smile. But Yan Shu frowned deeply. Ordinary people could not enter the Hall of Justice. Even if they were innocent, they would certainly lose a layer of skin after entering the Hall of Justice. Now, the Hall of Justice was under the Full Moon Peak's jurisdiction. If Ji Yishuan was really brought into the Hall of Justice, the consequences would be dire. Ji Yishuan would probably cease to exist within the Falling Sky Valley. Wardens, this matter is too important. With that, Yan Shu looked at the justice wardens and spoke. When he heard that, a justice warden said coldly, You are right. Stealing the most precious treasure of the Full Moon Peak, the Full Moon Sutra, is indeed important. Wardens, the truth of this matter is unclear. Even if Ji Yishuan really stole the Full Moon Sutra, he is still the Valley Master's disciple. The Valley Master is discussing important matters with the Lord of the Peerless School. If we really want to deal with this matter, we need to wait for the Valley Master to have time to attend to it personally, Yan Shu said. After he heard Yan Shu's words, one of the justice wardens laughed coldly and disdainfully. Even if a prince commits a crime, he should be punished in the same way as a commoner. In any case, Ji Yixuan is only a disciple of the Valley Master. Even if the Valley Master were to come here personally, it would be of no use. This, Yan Shu sank into silence. It looked as if the Hall of Justice had indeed sought refuge with the full moon peak. Otherwise, they would not deal with such an important matter so casually. In addition, Xian Yuanlai's words were full of loopholes. Ji Yixuan was the Valley Master's disciple and had even more profound sutras that he could study. Why would he seek out something inferior and even risk his life to steal the Full Moon Peak's Full Moon Sutra? It did not make any sense. At that moment, the wardens of the Hall of Justice did not care about these loopholes at all. They only wanted to swiftly convict Ji Yixuan. As to what they were thinking, only they themselves knew. Humph, stop talking nonsense. A warden of the Hall of Justice shouted coldly. Ji Yixuan, you have committed a heinous crime in stealing the most precious treasure of the Full Moon Peak, the Full Moon Sutra. Based on the rules of the Falling Sky Valley, if anyone steals a peak's item, they have committed a grave offense. To steal a peak's secret sutra is a capital offense. Now you have been caught red-handed. Do you plead guilty? Plead guilty. A bone-chilling laugh came from Ji Yixuan. I, Ji Yixuan, have been honest and above board my whole life. My conscience is clear. If you want my life, you can have it. If you try to falsely accuse me and shame my master's reputation, then you can dream on. What a joke. The Full Moon Sutra that the Full Moon Peak lost was found on your person. Everyone saw it, and it cannot possibly be false evidence. Even if you deny it 100 times over, it will still be useless. Ji Yixuan, you better give yourself up. If you resist, you will suffer the consequences. The warden of the Hall of Justice shouted coldly. Chapter 1073 In deep trouble to the Hall of Justice, it was not important whether Ji Yixuan had really stolen the Full Moon Sutra. What was important was that Ji Yixuan was related to the Valley Master and that they were part of the Full Moon Peak. Clank! Ji Yixuan suddenly drew the sword at his waist. Are you really going to resist? When they saw that, the wardens of the Hall of Justice and Xian Yuanlai laughed coldly. If Ji Yixuan resisted, they could kill him on the spot. Then, the Valley Master, perfected Xianchen would not be able to retain his position for much longer. Yan Shu. Ji Yixuan looked at Yan Shu. Tell my master that I, Ji Yixuan, have been honest and above board all my life. I have never done anything deceitful. Today, I, Ji Yixuan, have been maligned by the Full Moon Peak. This incident is merely a ruse by the Full Moon Peak in its bid for power. Ask my master to be careful. I will leave first. As he said that, Ji Yixuan brandished his sword upward. His face was filled with determination. He would use his death to prove his innocence. He would not allow perfected Xianchen and the others to be besmirched in any way by him. What? When he saw what was happening, Yan Shu's expression changed. Ji Yixuan's long sword was already at his neck. He was too fast, and although Yan Shu tried to stop him, it was too late. However, at that moment, Yi Qingtang flicked her wrist. No one saw what Yi Qingtang did, but the long sword in Ji Yixuan's hand was instantly struck to the ground. Junior sister, Ji Yixuan looked at Yi Qingtang in shock. He did not know why Yi Qingtang had stopped him. Yi Qingtang looked at Ji Yixuan, who had resolved to die. She could not help but sigh inwardly. This senior brother Ji was too straightforward. Yi Qingtang laughed softly. If you didn't do it, why use your death to prove it? It's not worth it. Yan Shu was also shocked. He had not thought that this young lord would act in time to rescue Ji Yixuan. How dare you? At that moment, a warden of the Hall of Justice glared at Yi Qingtang in rage. Who are you to impede the Hall of Justice? When he saw what was happening, Yan Shu wanted to speak out and stop them. But he thought for a moment and remained silent in the end. At that moment, Yi Qingtang was looking at the warden. Her eyes were expressionless. Are you talking to me? Bring both Ji Yixuan and this girl back to the Hall of Justice. Now, I suspect that the two of them were in cahoots to steal the Full Moon Peak's Full Moon Sutra. The warden of the Hall of Justice shouted coldly. When she heard that, Yi Qingtang smiled and nodded slightly. I never thought that in this day and age, there is still someone who dares to speak to a lord like that. Yi Qingtang's words surprised everyone. Who did this girl think she was to call herself, a lord? Only a yin-yang perfected lord could be called a lord. The next moment, the force of a yang lord shot skyward. In an instant, it shrouded the entire falling sky valley. It was as if a lord demon from hell had descended. A blood-colored light flashed through the entire void. Under the supreme force of a yang lord, everyone present started to shudder violently as their pupils constricted. At that moment, the Full Moon Peak's Shenyuan Yi, the various senior disciples, and the wardens of the Hall of Justice were completely stunned. They stared at Yi Qingtang in disbelief. Yang! 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 Yang Lord! One of the wardens of the Hall of Justice felt that the earth had split and that the sky had fallen. It was like the end of the world. He had actually tried to capture a young lord. No one had taken any notice of Yi Qingtang. They had just assumed that this girl was an ordinary disciple of the Falling Sky Valley. However, at that moment, they all realized that this beautiful girl was an invincible young lord. Chapter 1074 Miss Yi. At that moment, the wardens of the Hall of Justice in the Falling Sky Valley were all stunned. They stared at Yi Qingtang in disbelief. Why would a formidable young lord, who was invincible in this mainland, appear in their Falling Sky Valley? Yi Qingtang's bland gaze passed over the wardens of the Hall of Justice. Without another word, she struck out with her palm. The power of a young lord instantly filled the entire area. The bodies of the wardens of the Hall of Justice instantly transformed into mists of blood and vanished from this earth. Everyone was shocked and struck dumb when they saw a young lord strike and swiftly kill the wardens of the Hall of Justice. The next second, Yi Qingtang's gaze fell on Shenyuan Lai. This person had tried to kill her outside the Falling Sky Valley. Now that Yi Qingtang had returned, she certainly would not let him off. With just one look, Shenyuan Lai's eyes, ears, and nose started to bleed. Under the oppression of Yi Qingtang's young lord force, he died almost instantly. This, Ji Yixuan looked at Yi Qingtang in shock. His lips moved slightly as if he had forgotten how to think. Even Yan Shu had not expected Yi Qingtang to kill so decisively. Even Shenyuan Lai had not been able to escape. Greetings, young lord. I did not recognize the young lord just now. Please forgive me. Ji Yixuan bowed to Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang looked at the Ji Yixuan, who was terrified and trembling. She gestured at him so that he would not stand on ceremony. By her reckoning, Yi Qingtang had already saved Ji Yixuan twice, including the time in the formidable Heavens dynasty. Truly, she and Ji Yixuan were fated. At that moment, Ji Yixuan was studying Yi Qingtang closely. However, upon closer inspection, Ji Yixuan's expression became increasingly peculiar. Why did this young lord seem so familiar? He felt that he had seen her somewhere before. Ji Yixuan involuntarily searched his mind, and after a moment, he suddenly seemed to recall something. His pupils constricted violently. You are Miss Yi? Yi Qingtang could not help but laugh softly when she saw sudden realization dawn on Ji Yixuan. He finally remembered who she was. Yan Shu's expression was rather strange as he watched this scene between Ji Yixuan and Yi Qingtang. Could it be that Ji Yixuan knew this young lord? Although Yi Qingtang did not admit it, her smile clearly showed that Ji Yixuan's guess was correct. Ji Yixuan was highly agitated and could not calm down. In the formidable Heavens dynasty, Yi Qingtang had rescued him from the hands of the Yunshao sect master's disciples. Ji Yixuan remembered that Yi Qingtang was an ordinary disciple of a sect named Xianling sect in the formidable Heavens dynasty. Within the short span of half a year, she had appeared again as an invincible young lord. I have some matters to discuss with perfected Xianchen, so I shall bid you farewell. Yi Qingtang looked at Yan Shu and Ji Yixuan. With that, she vanished on the spot. At that moment, in the great hall, perfected Xianchen was facing pressure from the full moon peak master and the other two major peak masters. He was enraged but helpless. Humph, perfected Xianchen, as Valley Master of Falling Sky Valley, you have allowed your disciple to act wildly and offended the disciples of the Peerless School. This matter is closely related to you. Now, you should hand Yi Chen over or give up your position as Valley Master. Full Moon Peak Master, Xianyuan Yi looked at the silent perfected Xianchen and spoke coldly. The masters of the other two major peaks, Cutwater Peak and Blue Cloud Peak, immediately spoke up to agree. Perfected Xianchen, I can tell that you have reached the end of your time as Valley Master of Falling Sky Valley. Within 3 days, you must hand Yi Chen over to the Peerless School, otherwise, you will be responsible for the consequences. The warden of the Peerless School shouted coldly. What arrogance! A cold shout suddenly reached everyone's ears. The next second, Yi Qingtang entered and swiftly stepped into the great hall. When they saw Yi Qingtang's sudden arrival, the three major peak masters and the warden of the Peerless School all frowned. Why was this young lord everywhere? These were the internal affairs of the Falling Sky Valley. What business was it of hers? Chapter 1075 Yi Chen, I'm afraid this is none of your business. The warden of the Peerless School looked at Yi Qingtang somewhat impatiently. Really, the corners of Yi Qingtang's mouth curved up slightly. She shielded her face with her sleeve. Within the span of 10 breaths, her beautiful young girlish face quickly transformed into that of a handsome young man. And this young man was the Yi Chen that they were looking for just now. A half-smile hung on Yi Qingtang's lips. Her gaze passed over everyone as she said, Yi Chen, are you looking for me? You, are Yi Chen? Perfected Xianchen stared at his own disciple, completely shocked and somewhat disbelieving Yi Chen was actually a girl, and a young lord. How was that possible? You are Yi Chen. The Full Moon Peak Master, Xianyuan Yi, looked at Yi Qingtang in shock and disbelief. Xianyuan Yi, your grandson Xianyuan Lai has already died. As a grandfather, aren't you afraid that your grandson will be lonely? Shouldn't you keep him company? Yi Qingtang lifted her eyes slightly and glanced at the Full Moon Peak Master, Xianyuan Yi, from the corners of her eyes. What did you say? Xianyuan Yi's expression was one of shock. Come here. Yi Qingtang exclaimed. A cold light suddenly flashed across Yi Qingtang's smiling eyes. Without giving Xianyuan Yi a chance to open his mouth, she suddenly grasped his neck and choked him. At that moment, Xianyuan Yi was in Yi Qingtang's grasp and was unable to struggle. His body left the ground as Yi Qingtang lifted him up into the air. Have mercy, Xianyuan Yi's face was flushed as he stared at Yi Qingtang in terror. Mercy? When she heard Xianyuan Yi's plea, the smile lurking at the corners of Yi Qingtang's mouth seemed to deepen. When she had left the Falling Sky Valley earlier, Xianyuan Yi had continually pursued her. Had he shown any sign of mercy? If you want mercy, you better ask for it in hell, Yi Qingtang said blandly. In the next second, there was a snap. Without giving Xianyuan Yi a chance to speak, Yi Qingtang had swiftly twisted Xianyuan Yi's neck. Yi Qingtang glanced at the lifeless Shen Yuan Yi and then casually threw the body at the feet of the warden from the Peerless School. You, the envoy from the Peerless School, was both shocked and angry. He glared at Yi Qingtang. What's the matter? Doesn't your Peerless School want to capture and question me? Yi Qingtang looked at the Peerless School warden. I'm here now. Why don't you act? However, the Peerless School warden did not dare to say anything. He only clenched his fists, speechless. Their pride in being a warden of the Peerless School made them unable to humble themselves. Although the person before him had injured disciples of the Peerless School, she was also a genuine young lord. If they started a fight with a young lord as Yi Qingtang had suggested, their fate would probably be the same as that of the Full Moon Peak Master, Shen Yuan Yi, Yi Chen. We represent the Peerless School. You previously injured some disciples of the Peerless School. You should give an account. The warden of the Peerless School looked at Yi Qingtang and said. An account? Yi Qingtang's gaze swept across the warden of the Peerless School. Her face showed no expression. I have already given you an account. I am here now. You can act whenever you want. You, the Peerless School warden, gritted his teeth in anger but was unable to argue. Yi Chen, it is true that you are a young lord. But you are not showing the Peerless School any respect at all. The Peerless School warden said. Chapter 1076. Am I afraid? Peerless School. When she heard that, Yi Qingtang's eyelids drooped. The corners of her mouth curved in a small smile. What about Peerless School? I don't even care about the formidable Heavens Dynasty's Biming Manor. There are 2 Biming Manor young lords out to kill me, but I have already killed one of them. I'm not even afraid of the Biming Manor, so why should I be afraid of the Peerless School? You killed a young lord from the Biming Manor? The Peerless School warden was taken aback by Yi Qingtang's words. In this mainland, the 3 biggest powers each had 4 young lords. This kept things in balance so that they were on equal footing. But if one of the powers lost a young lord, then the balance of power among the 3 would be lost. Either the Peerless School or the Phantom Valley could attack the power that had lost a young lord. The outcome of a fight between 4 young lords and 3 young lords could be imagined. I still have some internal matters to settle in the Falling Sky Valley today. I don't have time to bandy words with you. Scram. The warmth in Yi Qingtang's eyes had swiftly faded. The warden of the Peerless School just needed to bring back the news that the Biming Manor had lost a young lord. Humph. The Peerless School warden scoffed coldly. He immediately rose and led the Peerless School disciples out of the Great Hall and into the Falling Sky Valley without a backward glance. As the Peerless School warden left, Yi Qingtang's gaze fell on the 2 peak masters of Cutwater Peak and Blue Cloud Peak. Heirs at that moment, the 2 peak masters were struck dumb. They did not even dare to breathe loudly. Who would have thought that perfected Xuanqian's disciple, Yi Chen, had now appeared in the Falling Sky Valley as a young lord? If they had known about this, they would never have dared to collude with Full Moon Peak. From now on, you are stripped of your positions as masters of Blue Cloud Peak and Cutwater Peak. You are expelled from Falling Sky Valley. Yi Qingtang looked at them and said calmly. Why? The 2 of them were shocked. Why? Yi Qingtang's expression seemed imbued with a trace of bone-chilling frost. Her gaze swept over them inch by inch. You colluded with the Full Moon Peak to do such underhanded things. Have you forgotten about them? You have better vanish forever from my sight before I change my mind. I won't repeat myself. When they heard Yi Qingtang's words, the Blue Cloud Peak and Cutwater Peak masters were so frightened that they were soaked in cold sweat. They did not dare to speak any more and immediately got up. They only wished they had been born with a few more legs. They swiftly fled and vanished without a trace. It was all too easy for a young lord to kill martial cultivators of their level. With just a thought, they could be smashed into smithereens and transformed into nothingness. As she looked at the two of them flee, Yi Qingtang resumed her original appearance. She looked at the shocked perfected Xianchen, and the sharp look in her eyes completely faded and was replaced with gentle amusement. "Master, are you pleased with this conclusion? Are you, really Yi Qin?" Perfected Xianchen felt as if he was in a dream. He could not imagine how Yi Qin, who was clearly a male, could now become a female, especially one with terrifying powers of the cultivation of a young lord. "Master, I was originally a girl, but when I first came to Falling Sky Valley, I had no choice but to present myself to others as Yi Qin," explained Yi Qingtang. "I see." When perfected Xianchen heard Yi Qingtang's explanation, he realized that Yi Qin was Yi Qingtang's false name. "So, what is your real name?" Perfected Xianchen asked Yi Qingtang. "Yi Qingtang." She answered honestly. Chapter 1077 The Old Valley Master, Yi Qingtang, the girl who obtained the Fiend Celestial Beast Cub, in the Hell of Avicenaraka. Perfected Xianchen was shocked. "Yes." Yi Qingtang nodded. "In that case, I understand," Perfected Xianchen nodded. Yi Qingtang had obtained a young Fiend Celestial Beast in the Hell of Avicenaraka. This news had spread throughout this mainland. If Yi Qingtang had not disguised herself and completely changed her appearance, she would not have lived until today. However, before Perfected Xianchen could continue speaking, exclamations could be heard from outside the Great Hall. Yi Qingtang and Perfected Xianchen immediately walked out of the Great Hall together. Outside the Great Hall stood a white-robed old man. On the ground lay dozens of corpses. One of the corpses was the peerless school warden. The Peak Masters of Cutwater Peak and Blue Cloud Peak were also there. Perfected Xianchen looked in surprise at the white-robed old man who was standing nearby. "Old Valley Master, you, Old Valley Master." Yi Qingtang looked thoughtful when she heard Perfected Xuanchen's words. Previously, in the formidable Heavens dynasty, it seemed that Ji Yixuan was looking for the regeneration stone to allow the Old Valley Master to continue living, and the Old Valley Master had been seriously injured by the peerless school warden. Perfected Xianchen looked in shock at the old man who was standing nearby. Although the Old Valley Master had obtained the regeneration stone and managed to survive, he had not been able to recover from his severe injuries and had been recuperating behind closed doors. What had caused him to leave his seclusion to return to the Falling Sky Valley? "Old Valley Master, are your injuries better?" Perfected Xianchen asked the old man. When she saw that Perfected Xianchen was about to walk over to the old man, Yi Qingtang caught hold of him. This old man's aura was rather peculiar, and the bodies on the ground were inexplicable. Yi Qingtang looked at the Old Valley Master pointedly and said, "Old Valley Master, did you kill the peerless school warden and these other people?" "Old Valley Master killed them." One of the Falling Sky Valley disciples hurriedly nodded. The Old Valley Master looked at Yi Qingtang and studied her for a moment before a strange smile lit his face. "Peak of the seventh heaven of Yin Yang Perfected Lord. Not bad at all." After he had spoken, the old man ignored Yi Qingtang and the others. A pitch-black pearl surfaced on his brow. Under the glow from the black pearl on the old man's brow, the peerless school warden and the dozens of other corpses transformed into black mist and instantly rushed into the black pearl. When Perfected Xianchen saw the Old Valley Master's appearance, he was shocked and was somewhat disbelieving. The Old Valley Master looked like he had suffered from qi deviation during his recuperation or had cultivated some kind of sinister power. However, the Old Valley Master ignored Perfected Xianchen. He looked towards the void and sighed softly. Time is running out, time is running out." Perfected Xianchen was taken aback when he heard that. He involuntarily asked, "In what way are you short of time?" Yi Qingtang followed the Old Valley Master's gaze, and after a moment, she also frowned slightly. The Old Valley Master was studying the area in which the dimension wall had been smashed, as if the Old Valley Master knew something. You, come here. The Old Valley Master gestured slightly with his right arm. The peak masters of the other 12 peaks instantly had their necks broken by the Old Valley Master. The next moment, the ground was littered with numerous corpses. Chapter 1078 The Conspiracy. Old Valley Master, what are you doing? Perfected Xianchen was completely dumbfounded upon witnessing the situation. His face was full of disbelief. The Old Valley Master killed a few peak masters instantly. Master, don't go. Yi Qingtang stretched her hand out and pulled Perfected Xianchen back to prevent him from getting near the Old Valley Master. Qingtang, did the Old Valley Master enter the Qi deviation during his treatment? Perfected Xianchen looked towards Yi Qingtang immediately. Yi Qingtang squinted her eyes and scanned through the elder in front of her. Yi Qingtang pulled back her sight and shook her head towards Perfected Xianchen. She frowned and said, Master, I don't think that the Old Valley Master entered the Qi deviation. When a cultivator entered the Qi deviation, his own injuries would only get worse. However, based on the Old Valley Master's current situation, he was full of energy and vitality with no trace of injury at all. Furthermore, if a cultivator entered the Qi deviation, his martial ability would not increase exponentially. The aura that the Old Valley Master revealed just now let Yi Qingtang feel threatened as well. According to her knowledge, the Old Valley Master's martial ability was just a normal young lord at his peak time. Not the Qi deviation. Perfected Xianchen was shocked. If it was not because of the Qi deviation, what made the Old Valley Master like that now? The few peak masters' corpses turned into a ball of black fog under the influence of the black pearl at his glabella and were absorbed by the pearl. This is weird. Why is the dimension wall broken? The Old Valley Master murmured to himself after absorbing the bodies of the few peak master. The Old Valley Master's murmur entered Yi Qingtang's ears. At the same time, a black glint radiated out from the Old Valley Master's glabella and surrounded the Enter Nine Knights dynasty. It should be enough to use all living creatures in the Nine Knights dynasty as the price, the Old Valley Master said softly. Everyone in the Falling Sky Valley froze on the spot and could not believe what was happening. The black light contained unimaginable power that could destroy everything. Come here. The Old Valley Master looked at some senior members and disciples of the Falling Sky Valley and smiled. In the next second, everyone was killed with his invisible power. Stop! Perfected Xianchen shouted. The Old Valley Master sized up Perfected Xianchen. Old Valley Master, what are you doing? Perfected Xuanchen's voice quivered. The Old Valley Master laughed softly and said, Xianchen, you're my favorite person in the entire Falling Sky Valley. If not, I would not ask you to replace the position as the Valley Master back then. However, I'm back now, and you should die in honor. The Old Valley Master lifted his arm and tried to grab Perfected Xianchen after he finished his words. Yi Qingtang immediately blocked Perfected Xianchen, and her divine power of a young lord exploded out from her body to suppress the Old Valley Master's terrifying power. Hee. A young lord at such a young age. You're quite extraordinary, even at my age. However, you don't need to rush. It'll be your turn after I kill everyone else. The Old Valley Master looked at Yi Qingtang and smiled. Your age? Yi Qingtang frowned slightly when she heard the Old Valley Master's words. He was not as simple as how he appeared. Chapter 1079 10,000 Years, Old Valley Master of the Falling Sky Valley, what's the relationship between you and the extraordinary lady? Yi Qingtang stared at the Old Valley Master and contemplated. The extraordinary lady? The Old Valley Master was slightly stunned after hearing Yi Qingtang's words. The extraordinary lady who used her spiritual abode to create this mainland, Yi Qingtang said coldly. The Old Valley Master was taken aback and stared at Yi Qingtang in surprise. After a while, the Old Valley Master said, How did you know about that? You don't need to know about that. Yi Qingtang replied coldly. The Old Valley Master's response proved that Yi Qingtang's guess was correct. The Old Valley Master must be related to the extraordinary lady who created the mainland. You know quite a lot based on your age. The extraordinary lady you mentioned was regarded as a god by us. After she came to the mainland, she led us to the magnificent martial civilization. She used her own spiritual abode to create the land for us. The elder was immersed in deep thought as if he had returned to that age. However, things did not go well. Her divine power was used up as she lost her spiritual abode. However, without her divine power, she still enjoyed our worship and respect. She really treated herself as a god. How funny was that, ha ha ha. The Old Valley Master's expression was getting a little insane. Yi Qingtang was slightly stunned after hearing his explanation. The extraordinary lady had passed away around 10,000 years ago. According to the Old Valley Master's words, it seemed that he lived in the same age as the extraordinary lady and had even served her before. Perfected Xianqian and the rest all froze, stunned. None of them could understand the conversation between the Old Valley Master and Yi Qingtang. Who was the extraordinary lady? What spiritual abode, god were they talking about? Yi Qingtang looked at the Old Valley Master coldly and said, the extraordinary lady had passed away for around 10,000 years. It seemed that you lived in the same age as her. Ha ha ha. Young girl, you're very clever. No wonder you can become a young lord at your age. I have lived for more than 10,000 years. I was the first sect master of Yunshao sect, and I created the Falling Sky Valley. I always change my identity every few hundred or thousand years. Yi Qingtang's expression changed slightly as well after the Old Valley Master finished his words. The person in front of her really had lived for 10,000 years. What a pity, there isn't enough spirit energy on this mainland. Furthermore, the extraordinary lady you mentioned used her remaining divine power as a curse to build the dimension wall after she passed away. The dimension wall could shield any outsiders and also prevent us from leaving this mainland. If not, I believe some of us would have become emperor-level figures. The Old Valley Master sighed softly and helplessly. Yi Qingtang did not know about the curse from the little white tiger. Even the little white tiger might not know about that. The Old Valley Master was right. If it was not due to the power of the curse that prevented the group of ancient people from leaving the mainland, they all had the chance to become emperor-level figures after living for 10,000 years. You. How did you manage to live so long? Yi Qingtang frowned and asked. Chapter 1080 Eternity is Solitary. 1. He had been living for more than 10,000 years. What kind of concept was that? Any cultivator who could live for 10,000 years could become an extremely powerful figure in the world. It was not impossible to even become an emperor-level figure. However, it was extremely difficult to live for 10,000 years. Yi Qingtang stared at the Old Valley Master in front of her and could not figure out how he managed to live for so long. The Old Valley Master heard the number and was embedded in memories. It seemed like he was trying to chase his past. 10,000 years, the Old Valley Master sighed after a long while. I have lived, for too long. I almost forget about it. The Old Valley Master swept his eyes across Yi Qingtang. He shook his head slightly and sighed. NSU, the ancient people consumed the extraordinary lattice body parts after killing her. I ate her heart. And I have no idea why her heart can give me eternal life. The Old Valley Master did not avoid talking about the things that happened 10,000 years ago. However, when he mentioned about consuming the body parts, an unusual look appeared in his eyes. I see, Yi Qingtang frowned. The extraordinary lady 10,000 years ago was really close to a god. No one would expect that her heart would give eternal life. However, the extraordinary lady was too merciful. If not, she would not end up with such a consequence. She sacrificed everything she had and nurtured a batch of ungrateful people. Hee hee. I have not been saying these things for a long period of time. Not many from my age are still alive now. The old valley master looked at Yi Qingtang and smiled as he shook his head. Yi Qingtang stared at the old valley master. She could feel a sense of sadness and hopelessness in his eyes when he talked about these things. However, the expression disappeared after a second. It was hard to catch that if she did not pay attention. Yi Qingtang understood the whole image from the old valley master's words. The old valley master of Falling Sky Valley should be an ancient person from 10,000 years ago. After killing the extraordinary lady, the old valley master ate her heart and had eternal life. However, the curse left by the extraordinary lady prevented the ancient people of that age from leaving this mainland. The only way to break the curse was to get the extraordinary latticed spiritual abode. If the old valley master got his hand on the spiritual abode, he could break the curse and leave the mainland. As long as he was able to leave the mainland, his power would increase exponentially with his 10,000 years of life. The old valley master looked around, and a trace of hesitation appeared in his eyes. However, the hesitation disappeared immediately. The old valley master raised his hand in the next second. A black glint exploded from the black pearl at his glabella and turned all corpses into black fog. Old valley master. What do you want? Perfected Xianchen stared at the old valley master and shouted. An ominous feeling arose in his heart. Chapter 1081 Eternity is Solitary. 2. I need to get the spiritual abode, if I want to leave the mainland. The old valley master stared at Perfected Xianchen without any emotion. He had to destroy this mainland in order to obtain the spiritual abode. He needed to start from the Nine Knights dynasty, to kill and destroy every living creature on this mainland. Based on the old valley master's martial ability, it was not difficult for him to do so. After thinking through what the old valley master was going to do, Yi Qingtang immediately jumped off the ground and pulled out the black-grade regicide sky blade. Her divine phoenix power exploded at the same time as well. A giant flame phoenix appeared by her back. A soft roar appeared, seeming to be able to make the world tremble. Swoosh! Yi Qingtang waved her regicide sky blade and slashed towards the old valley master. She did not care what thoughts the old valley master had. There were still her family and friends on this mainland. She would not allow anyone to destroy that. However, the old valley master stood there without any intention to dodge. Clank! Under everyone's gaze, the instant where Yi Qingtang slashed her sword down, the old valley master raised his right arm slightly. He used 2 fingers and caught Yi Qingtang's regicide sky blade. Yi Qingtang frowned as her sword was held by the old village master. A trace of surprise appeared in her eyes. An image of yin-yang intersecting with the sun and moon appeared behind the old valley master. A remote power that broke through the sky landed. Everyone in the Falling Sky Valley froze on the spot. Yi Qingtang was astonished as she saw the yin-yang and the sun with the moon. Yin-yang perfected Lord. 10th Heaven. Yi Qingtang widened her eyes and stared at the image behind the old valley master. As all had known, yin-yang perfected Lord was classified into 10 heavens. However, the 10th heaven had become a legend. It was extremely hard to find someone at the 9th heaven of yin-yang perfected Lord. After entering the 8th heaven of yin-yang perfected Lord level, one would encounter the bottleneck. It was rare to hear any cultivator that was able to enter the 9th heaven for the past thousands of years. Almost all cultivators started to charge towards arcane supremacy after reaching the 8th heaven of yin-yang perfected Lord. In Yi Qingtang's previous life, after reaching the peak of the 8th heaven, she wanted to explore the legendary level and charge towards the 9th heaven. However, she found no clue in the next 3 years. It seemed that there were no 9th and 10th heaven at all. Yi Qingtang could not help but break through the 8th heaven and enter the arcane supremacy. After living for 2 lives, this was the first time she saw the legendary 10th heaven of yin-yang perfected Lord. Indeed, you're very talented. A young lord at such a young age. The old valley master looked up at Yi Qingtang and murmured. You remind me of my disciple. The little guy was only 8 or 9 years old, and he was a heavenly venerate. The old valley master frowned as he recalled something. Heavenly venerate. His disciple. Yi Qingtang looked at the old valley master in shock. Before she could say anything, the old valley master lifted his right arm. Yi Qingtang was then thrown out by a powerful and ineffable force. Chapter 1082 Eternity is Solitary. 3. There is no time left. The old valley master sighed softly. The black pearl at his glabella flew towards the sky. Almost instantly, a black fog exploded and surrounded the entire Nine Knights dynasty in darkness. Yi Qingtang steadied herself. She stared at the old valley master and asked. You killed a selfless lady for your own greed. Now, you want to use all living creatures' lives on the mainland as your stepping stone to break the curse. Yi Qingtang would not call herself a kind person. However, she could not accept the fact that he was going to kill everyone. After hearing Yi Qingtang's words, the old valley master remained silent. After a while, he raised his head and looked at Yi Qingtang. I have given too much time to this mainland. However, the dimension wall is broken. I believe that there will be a lot of powerful people coming from elsewhere soon to take the spiritual abode. Why not just give it to me? Yi Qingtang stared at the old valley master, who seemed to be very determined. There was no trace of hesitation. No matter how he tried to explain himself, he could never erase the crimes he had committed due to his selfishness. When the snow fell, the divine king appeared. When he raised his head, he saw the most beautiful spirit. However, time flies, and hair whitened almost instantly. The old valley master sighed with a complex expression. The old valley master's sigh and murmur landed into Yi Qingtang's ears. She was slightly stunned. Divine King Luo Shui. Before the mainland was formed 10,000 years ago, there was a hero appeared after a snowstorm. He was known as the Divine King Luo Shui. The Divine King Luo Shui led ancient people to form tribes and battled everywhere. His story was written in an enclosed historical record. You are Divine King Luo Shui. Yi Qingtang stared at the old valley master in surprise. The old valley master's body trembled slightly. His subtle reaction was all captured by Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang felt a mixed chain of emotions. If her assumption was correct, the old valley master was the divine king Luo Shui from 10,000 years ago. According to the legend, divine king Luo Shui lived together with a demon 10,000 years ago. In one battle against a strong enemy, he lost, and he used his life to cover for the demon for it to escape. However, the demon was not willing to leave and was willing to die together with him. The divine king Luo Shui in the legend cared for everything, even for a demon. Yi Qingtang could not believe that the person in front of her who betrayed the extraordinary lady, ate her heart, and wished to kill everyone here as his stepping stone would be the divine king Luo Shui in the legends, the one that was so selfless and kind. Either the divine king Luo Shui was lying, or the historical record was wrong. However, Yi Qingtang was not sure of the truth. Boom! Suddenly, the sky was covered with dark clouds. Blood-red streaks of lightning appeared in the clouds and were about to attack everyone like a beast. Swoosh! In the next second, the blood-red streaks of lightning stroked towards the old valley master from mid-air. Yi Qingtang was shocked. The blood-red streaks of lightning contained enormous power of the sky. Yi Qingtang could still remember how she encountered the heavenly tribulation when she was about to charge towards the holy venerate. She almost died under the heavenly tribulation. Eventually, she managed to avoid the heavenly tribulation and became a holy venerate. Chapter 1083 Divine King Luo Shui. 1. The old valley master did not have any signs of advancing, but why was there a blood-colored heavenly tribulation falling from the sky? Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Although there were blood-colored streaks of lightning raining down, the old valley master was laughing heartily. With one hand controlling heaven and earth and the other controlling the sun and the moon, he received the streaks of lightning like a true god without any trace of fear. Yi Qingtang was taken aback by the sight. Who in this world could face the heavenly tribulation with smiles? It was most likely only divine King Luo Shui. Clank! A black saber appeared in divine King Luo Shui's hand. Old friend. It's been long. The old valley master looked at the black saber in his hand and chuckled. Before everyone's shocked eyes, a clear voice sounded from the black saber. Divine King Luo Shui. I have been sealed by you for thousands of years. I never thought that you would actually bring me out today, ha ha ha. Meeting an old friend again. How great! The old valley master laughed. The smile on his face completely contrasted that of a serious character. The heavenly tribulation is here. Fight! The saber shouted. In the next second, the old valley master rushed to the sky, and the saber swept across the blood-colored streaks of lightning. Boom! Boom! There was a loud eruption when the black saber faced the heavenly tribulation as though the sky was about to explode. Regicide Sky Blade. Yi Qingtang stared at the sword in the old valley master's hand, and her pupils dilated slightly. The long sword in the old valley master's hand was actually the genuine Regicide Sky Blade. Although Yi Qingtang's black-grade weapon was also named the Regicide Sky Blade, it was an imitation of the heaven-level divine weapon, Regicide Sky Blade. The weapon in divine King Luo Shui's hand was the true heaven-level divine weapon. Regicide Sky Blade. At this instant, Yi Qingtang did not even have time to think. The Regicide Sky Blade smashed the blood-colored streaks of lightning violently, and the might of the heavenly tribulation swept throughout the place as though it wanted to extinguish every being in the world. Very quickly, the first heavenly tribulation was broken through. Divine King Luo Shui's heaven-level divine weapon pointed to the sky proudly as though it had returned to millions of years ago, an era which it belonged to. Old friend, the clear spirit from the Regicide Sky Blade sounded. The road that you chose. Isn't the price a little too huge? Price? Divine King Luo Shui was expressionless, and he seemed to be in thought. After so many years, he had almost forgotten his initial thinking and who he exactly was. I don't wish to become eternal, Divine King Luo Shui mumbled. Eternity is lonely, this road is too difficult. If you really swallowed her heart back then, would you still need to be afraid of the curse? You could have left this mainland a long time ago, and became a true legend. Yet, you chose the toughest road. After 10,000 years, do you still love her? A soft sigh emitted from the Regicide Sky Blade. However, Divine King Luo Shui did not say anything and responded with silence. Initially, she remained in this mainland because of you, but you did not accept her feelings, and persuaded her to leave. It seems that you already knew the awful nature of those people. It's just a pity that she was unwilling to leave, until when her temple was destroyed and faith was tarnished. You appeared and disguised yourself as those people to split her flesh. You brought her heart away and stored it in your body, bearing her curse of anger, but this ruined your entire life. Was this really worth it? The Regicide Sky Blade said. Chapter 1084 Divine King Luo Shui, 2, You're unwilling to admit that you are Divine King Luo Shui, as you're afraid of tainting that name. In these 10,000 years, you pretended to be a wicked person. But if you're really wicked, you could have destroyed this mainland a long time ago with your determination. I can already feel that your heart was bleeding when you killed one Falling Sky Valley disciple. You wish to leave with her heart. You think that by keeping her heart as a whole, there will always be a chance to revive her. However, 10,000 years have passed, and her soul has already disappeared. Are you still going to avoid this problem? Why are you not willing to face reality? The regicide Sky Blade's words knocked onto Divine King Luo Shue's heart, and his expression changed. Only the regicide Sky Blade that had been by Divine King Luo Shue's side knew what exactly happened 10,000 years ago. No one knew the weight of this issue. Yeah. 10,000 years have passed, Divine King Luo Shue mumbled. You're afraid that the dimension wall breaks. You're even more afraid that the powerful figures from the outside world will come to this mainland and take her spiritual abode away. Once that happens, your curse will never be removed, you cannot leave with her heart, and she will not have any chance to revive. Ultimately, you're just deceiving yourself and others. Even if you can leave this mainland, she is still unable to be revived. Old friend, wake up, regicide Sky Blade sighed. For that overly compassionate extraordinary lady, the once unique and unrivaled Divine King Luo Shue was now, boom. Suddenly, blood-colored streaks of lightning appeared once again. Bolts of lightning filled the sky aggressively. This heavenly tribulation array formation is laid by those people, and its might is no weaker than a real heavenly tribulation. As long as you intend to leave, the array formation will be activated until you're completely dead. Old friend, I am with you, said the regicide Sky Blade. Huh, great. Old friend, what do I have to fear with you here? Divine King Luo Shue laughed aloud, still jovial even when facing the terrifying force of the heavenly tribulation. Boom. Boom. Boom boom. In the next second, several thick bolts of lightning struck down at Divine King Luo Shue. With the regicide Sky Blade in hand, Divine King Luo Shue stood in the air silently in superiority, but his figure was extremely lonely. 10,000 years ago, he had an excellent reputation. Now, all that was known was his infamy. 10,000 years ago, who did not recognize Divine King Luo Shue? 10,000 years later, who knew about Divine King Luo Shue? Divine King Luo Shue, who was forgotten and abandoned by everyone, wielded the regicide Sky Blade once again and fought against the heavens. Swoosh! A black sword glint opposed the blood-red bolts of lightning directly. Boom! The sword glint broke after being unable to block the heavenly might. Divine King was heavily injured and fell from the sky. However, he never landed on the ground. With a laugh, he charged upward to the sky once again and received the blow. At this instant, Yi Qingtang was shaken as she looked at the figure that remained still almost eternally. She heard everything that the regicide Sky Blade had said just now. The truth that no one knew of shocked her. She originally thought that he was like those others from 10,000 years ago, who turned their backs on that extraordinary lady to gain more power. Yet unexpectedly, what kind of person was Divine King Luo Shue? And what was his relationship with the extraordinary lady? Chapter 1085 Divine King Luo Shue, 3, Why did he rather bear the endless infamy and tell the world about all his evil deeds, tearing down the palace and destroying the faith when all he wanted was to protect the extraordinary lattice heart? An originally compassionate man eventually did not hesitate to slaughter living beings and wanted to leave this mainland with that extraordinary lattice heart. The force of the heavenly might was increasingly frightening, making it seem as though all the gods personally brought the calamities to the people. The scary array formation force from 10,000 years ago was still extremely terrifying when appearing now. What was sealed in the array formation was the true force of the heavenly tribulation and the fury of the heavenly might. Bolts and bolts of blood-colored lightning were destroyed by Divine King Luo Shue, and even more heavenly might exploded on Divine King Luo Shue's body. Currently, Divine King Luo Shue's body was already covered by fresh blood, but the heroic and heart-wrenching laughter echoed continuously. However, at this very instant, a few gold carriages appeared in the sky not far away. Several huge demons pulled the gold carriages and circled around the sky. Divine King Luo Shue indeed wishes to leave this mainland to revive that woman. If that woman is revived, wouldn't we definitely die? A deep voice sounded from one of the gold carriages. Ha! It's fortunate that we foresaw this and hid an ancient array formation on Divine King Luo Shue's body. Once he wishes to obtain the spiritual abode and leave this mainland, the ancient array formation will be activated, and he will definitely die. Yi Qingtang's eyes were on those gold carriages right now. Once she saw the symbol on those gold carriages, she was slightly taken aback. The hidden ancient clan. The historical records of this mainland once documented that somewhere between the clouds and mountains, there existed a hidden ancient clan that was shut away from the world, and its symbol was exactly the same as the one won the gold carriage. There were plenty of rumors regarding those ancient clans in this world, but, in her previous life, Yi Qingtang had never seen a single hidden ancient clan even when she left this mainland. She originally thought that the existence of the hidden ancient clan was merely a random record and not the truth, or that perhaps those ancient clans had already long passed away over time. Thus, Yi Qingtang used the name of the hidden ancient clan to deceive Peerless School and the few peak masters of Falling Sky Valley. But it turned out that, the hidden ancient clan actually existed in this mainland. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes at those gold carriages. She did not know why the hidden ancient clan suddenly appeared and came here. But for some reason, Yi Qingtang faintly sensed that the appearance of these hidden ancient clans was perhaps related to Divine King Luo Shui. Boom! The blood-colored lightning rained down non-stop, and the force of the heavenly might was difficult to block. Divine King Luo Shui was eventually unable to block the frightening attack of the heavenly tribulation, and his body fell from the sky. Old Valley Master. Seeing that Divine King Luo Shui's body fell, perfected Xianchen and the other Falling Sky Valley masses were sorrowful. Although no one knew what exactly happened to the Old Valley Master's body, most of them at the scene would already have died without him. The Old Valley Master once blocked many disasters and saved the lives of numerous Falling Sky Valley members. All of this was inexplicable. Divine King Luo Shui's consciousness was gradually blurred, and his tight grip on the Regicide Sky Blade slowly loosened. The Regicide Sky Blade sighed. Old friend. Dignified Divine King Luo Shui, is it the end today? Your dream is not yet fulfilled. Ending like this. Is it a pity? Chapter 1086 Is it a pity? 1. Is it a pity? Divine King Luo Shui closed his eyes, but his lips tugged up slightly into a heart-wrenching smile. 10,000 years ago, between the clouds and mountains, the flowers were in full bloom. There were vibrant blooms, chirping of birds, natural wind, and fluffy clouds at the mountain ranges. A man in snow-white clothes with outstanding looks was walking. You are Divine King Luo Shui. I am Yu Yun from the central mainland. I like you. It was as though that lady walked out from a painting. She was so beautiful that one could not bear to touch her. Divine King Luo Shui's heart raced as he looked at that alluring face. Many seasons later, the lady became a respected goddess of the people, and together with Divine King Luo Shui, they led the masses toward a brighter future. However, years later, the lattice divine powers were slowly bled dry. As the lattice divine powers were exhausted, the world was filled with abomination. The ancient people smashed the lattice statue, destroyed the temple, and tainted the faith with resentment. It was a dark era. I want her heart. In the temple, Divine King Luo Shui wielded the Regicide Sky Blade and killed the ancient people like a madman, making them pay with their lives. However, in the end, a few elite family clan powerful figures appeared and joined forces to suppress Divine King Luo Shui. I want her heart. I want her heart. Ultimately, Divine King Luo Shui seemed to give in and became a puppet without emotions in front of the millions of powerful figures. After swallowing the lattice heart, he left the temple and disappeared for 10,000 years. Yun, suddenly, Divine King Luo Shui opened his eyes, and a surge of white-colored divine power emerged in his eyes and rushed into the clouds. In Yi Qingtang's disbelief, an extraordinarily stunning lady appeared in the form of a virtual image. She stood beside Divine King Luo Shui protectively with an elegant smile on her face. Yun, Divine King Luo Shui used all his energy to touch the lady, but his palm passed through her body. It was mystifying. Yi Qingtang looked at that perfect lady, perplexed. At this moment, Yi Qingtang finally understood everything that the regicide Sky Blade and Divine King Luo Shui were talking about. That lady should be the extraordinary lady from 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago, she once adored Divine King Luo Shui and was willing to remain on this mainland for him. Divine King Luo Shui did not hesitate to bear the countless sins and conceal his identity for 10,000 years, just to leave this mainland with her heart and revive her once again. 10,000 years elapsed quickly. In these 10,000 years, Divine King Luo Shui clung on to that last trace of hope and lived with the company of loneliness. As for that extraordinary lady, even after she died, her obsession with her loved one was also hidden deep in her heart. When Divine King Luo Shui encountered a calamity today, the obsession transformed into the appearance of that extraordinary lady when she was alive and appeared here to protect the most important person in her life. As the lady waved her hand, the blood-colored lightning exploded and vanished without a trace. I am Yu Yun, from Central Mainland. Divine King Luo Shui, I like you. The lady looked at Divine King Luo Shui as she continuously repeated the words she said when they first met. Yun, Divine King Luo Shui trembled. A strong man was, however, no longer able to bear the pain as he sobbed softly. The scene from 10,000 years ago seemed to replay once again. After the extraordinary lady died back then, Divine King Luo Shui brought her heart to a small tree, and no one knew the location of it. Once the little tree grew into a tall tree of a towering multitude, Divine King Luo Shui's jet-black hair had already turned white. He remained under the tree for 30 years. Without knowledge of what year it was. Chapter 1087 Is it a pity? 2. Ancient Clan. Yi Qingtang stared at the gold carriages that were being pulled by a few demons in the air, and her expression changed. She never expected that the historical records were actually real and not a hoax. No one knew how powerful the hidden ancient clan was, and the initial Blood Moon sect probably could not be compared to it. The development of the issue had way surpassed Yi Qingtang's expectations. All of this was a chain reaction after the dimension wall broke. Once the dimension wall broke, powerful figures from the outside world would come to snatch the spiritual abode. As such, Divine King Luo Shui made up his mind to destroy the world, and his determination activated the heavenly tribulation array formation that had been laid on him 10,000 years ago. Yi Qingtang guessed that the hidden ancient clan was probably from the same generation as Divine King Luo Shui and was closely related to Divine King Luo Shui and the extraordinary lady. The blood-colored lightning continued on, but the sky darkened. A small drizzle rained down in no time. The virtual image of the lady remained beside Divine King Luo Shui, and her face was as calm still water. 10,000 years later, it was as though it was their first meeting 10,000 years ago. Divine King Luo Shui stood up slowly and looked at the familiar yet foreign lady before him. After 10,000 years of longing, he could no longer hold himself back. Divine King Luo Shui stretched a hand out towards the lady. His fingers trembled as he desperately wanted to hold on to something. However, his 5 fingers passed through that lattice body. There was nothing other than air. Yun. It's me. Have you forgotten? In the 9 Lives Palace under the Bodhi tree, you said that in this life, you will marry no one but me. There was a trace of anticipation in Divine King Luo Shui's eyes as though he was hoping for Yu Yun to react. Nonetheless, it was as if the lady did not hear anything as she merely guarded in front of Divine King Luo Shui to dispel the blood-colored streaks of lightning. He clearly remembered what happened 10,000 years ago. After Yu Yun died, Divine King Luo Shui came to a little tree with Yu Yun's heart. With that one sit, no one knew how many times the grass on the ground withered and the skies changed. Day after day. Year after year. Over the years. The little tree grew into a towering tree with fertile soil in the surroundings. That day, Divine King Luo Shui's black hair turned into snow white. It was also that day where he buried all his love under the soil. From then on, he changed his appearance and concealed his identity. There no longer was a Divine King Luo Shui in the world anymore. Now, 10,000 years later, Divine King Luo Shui finally met Yu Yun once again. That lady who dared to love and hate and always told him that she would not marry anyone else but him. That lady who exhausted all his divine power and scattered her love all over this mainland. That lady whose temple was destroyed and flesh was distributed out to be eaten, who left the world with intense resentment. In these 10,000 years, he tried his best to forget himself and Yu Yun and almost went insane. At this moment, 10,000 years of hard work was so fragile. Even for a lady who died from misery, her obsession at the very last moment was still Divine King Luo Shui. 10,000 years ago, Divine King Luo Shui faced a huge calamity, and Yu Yun's obsession appeared once again. You can't hear my voice. You can't hear my voice. As Divine King Luo Shui looked at Yu Yun, it was as though his heart was being ripped apart. Luo Shui was already old, but Yu Yun was still like back then. Her face had never changed. It was so familiar, and so foreign. Chapter 1088 Is it a pity? 3. Divine King Luo Shui called out to Yu Yun, but that lady who had been imprinted in his heart for 10,000 years did not respond. She was so near yet so far. Ha ha ha. Divine King Luo Shui. I already thought that you were harboring evil designs back then. In the end, you really betrayed us. You deserve it. Just when Divine King Luo Shui fixed his gaze on Yu Yun, several elderlies walked out of the gold carriage and floated in the air. Divine King Luo Shui looked in the direction of the voice and saw those ancient clan powerful figures. His face turned extremely cold in an instant, and overpowering martial willpower rushed into the horizon. Ha! If you swallowed that dumb woman's heart from the start, you could have been free from the curse, went to the outside world, and still be that Divine King Luo Shui. Yet, look at you now. What are you? A white-haired elderly stared at Divine King Luo Shui and scoffed. This elderly similarly possessed the power to contend against the heavenly might. Yin Yang 10th Heaven. Yi Qing Tang sensed an enormous power around that elderly that was actually the same as that of Divine King Luo Shui, Yin Yang 10th Heaven. Yin Yang 10th Heaven, which had disappeared from this world for a long time, actually appeared in two people today. Could it be that, in the era 10,000 years ago, these martial realms are not as simple as Yin Yang perfected Lord Realm? Yi Qing Tang frowned slightly as a perplexed expression emerged in her eyes. No matter the ancient clan powerful figures or Divine King Luo Shui, although they had the power of a Yin Yang 10th Heaven, their martial aura was no weaker than hers when she was a holy venerate back then. It was also to say that the martial skills of these people were definitely not as simple as Yin Yang perfected Lord Realm. In reality, just as Yi Qing Tang had guessed, Divine King Luo Shui was unparalleled 10,000 years ago and might defeat even an emperor-level cultivator 10,000 years later. He was known as a magnificent man who was just a small step away from a true god. 10,000 years ago, those powerful family clans were almost at the emperor level. 10,000 years ago, an emperor-level figure was nothing much as that was a generation where the Divine King was highly respected. There were traces of divinity everywhere, and the brilliance scattered by true gods could be easily spotted. Powerful figures only had one goal, to become a true god. This lasted until the extraordinary lady arrived, made this entire mainland, and led the masses towards an even brighter martial route and the realm of a true god. However, as the extraordinary lattice divine powers were drained, everything calmed down. The masses could not see any hope of becoming a god and thus vented all their anger on the extraordinary lady and shared her flesh to be consumed. After the extraordinary lady died, her indignation turned into a curse. She cursed the ancient clan of this mainland to never attain liberation and to be unable to leave this mainland forever, and she dispersed all the spirit energy away from this mainland. Without the support of spirit energy, the ancient clan members, who were once neck and neck with emperor-level figures, were as good as having lost all their cultivation base and could only be stuck at the yin-yang perfected lord realm forever. This was also the same for divine King Luo Shui. However, those hidden ancient clan members did not know how to break the extraordinary lattice curse, though they were still the most powerful people of this mainland when they remained. They did not allow any member of the ancient clan to leave, especially divine King Luo Shui. If divine King Luo Shui left this mainland and restored the power of a divine king, everlasting perdition would greet them. Divine King Luo Shui, you are heavily injured by the heavenly tribulation today, and you will die here. Chapter 1089 Obsession 1. The powerful figures in the carriage landed into Falling Sky Valley instantly. Yun. It's been 10,000 years. Seeing you today, you are still so beautiful. But I am old and feeble. Divine King Luo Shui's eyes landed on the lady before him, and a sorrowful smile was seen on his face. He did not bother about those few hidden ancient clan members. It's a pity that you cannot hear me anymore now. Divine King Luo Shui smiled gently and slowly picked up the regicide sky blade beside him. Actually, I have always been avoiding seeing you again. I have betrayed you. I always did not have the courage to face you again. Perhaps it is not a bad thing now that you can't hear me. Yun, I will avenge you. Divine King Luo Shui stood up, and his martial willpower was like a strong wave that swept through the entire place and completely enshrouded it. Divine King Luo Shui, you're already severely injured by the heavenly tribulation. What threat can the current you still deal to us? One ancient clan elderly sneered. However, just as he finished his sentence, a strange black mist appeared around divine King Luo Shui. From now on. In this world, at this point, divine King Luo Shui looked longingly at Yu Yun, who was not far away. Ultimately, determination filled his eyes as he said, in this world, there will not be divine King Luo Shui anymore. In a flash, the black mist turned into demonic air and combined with his martial willpower. An enormous pair of pitch-black wings tore divine King Luo Shui's back apart. At this moment, there was no emotion in his eyes, which seemed like a freezing abyss. Like a supreme demon lord, he was to bring calamity to the entire world. From now on, the dark night engulfed the air. There no longer was any white light or Luo Shui. It was at this moment when the ancient clan members' expression changed drastically. They finally recalled that 10,000 years ago, before the name Divine King Luo Shui was known, he was the first-generation demon lord. Divine King Luo Shui, are you insane? Turning into a demon forcefully will drain your Bodhi's vitality. From now on, you will lose yourself and eventually die too. That elderly immediately said in a frenzied rage. Back then, divine King Luo Shui was the first-generation demon lord and was known as the everlasting degeneration demon lord. Afterward, divine King Luo Shui realized that the path of the demons was not the right path and not what he was searching for. He then turned his demon breath into vitality and became the leader of the orthodox, divine King Luo Shui. However, as divine King Luo Shui was demonized once again, he would drown in his mental demons forever, and everything that belonged to him would turn into evil spirits. Once his vitality was completely burned away, he would die. At this instant, a black pearl in the air returned to divine King Luo Shui's glabella once again. It was his third demon eye. The appearance of the demon eye spelled the resurrection of the demon body. Divine King Luo Shui turned into a demon once again. Black mist surged out from Demon Lord Luo Shui's demon eye. It seemed as though there was a recovery of the traces of divinity at this instant. All the people of Falling Sky Valley and even the peerless school wardens and disciples, who were previously killed by Demon Lord Luo Shui, actually reappeared in Falling Sky Valley. The dead actually came back alive. I am sorry, Demon Lord Luoshua's ice-cold demon eye looked at the lady. Swoosh! In the next second, a frightening demonic air erupted instantly. Demon Lord Luoshua turned into a black shadow and appeared before the ancient clan figures in a few breaths' time. Chapter 1090 Obsession 2, This is bad. The hidden ancient clan member's expression changed drastically. Divine King Luoshua turned into a demon and was burning his Bodhis vitality. His power in this period of time would be magnified greatly, and it was unimaginable. Run! The elderly shouted alarmingly. However, just as this elderly spoke, Demon Lord Luoshua's cold demon eye had already locked onto him, and the regicide sky blade made a frightening roar. Swoosh! The regicide sky blade in Demon Lord Luoshua's hand slashed down. Before the stunned masses, the regicide sky blade actually chopped the elderly into half. The enormous black wings behind Demon Lord Luoshua flapped. He pulled the long, white hair of the elderly and lifted his upper body as he hovered in midair. Hiss! Regardless of the falling Sky Valley masses or the ancient clan people, everyone was dumbstruck by this scene. How tremendous was this force! Roar! Demon Lord Luoshua, who had been completely demonized, let out a shrilling demonic roar, and the elderly's upper body exploded into bloody fog immediately. Boom, boom. Before waiting for Demon Lord Luoshua to make another move, the heavenly tribulation above him seemed to be even more infuriated as a blood-colored streak of lightning emerged and struck towards Demon Lord Luoshua. Noticing the situation, Demon Lord Luoshua howled in fury. He opened his mouth to spit an endless black flame that contained an unimaginable destructive force, making it seem as if he wanted to burn this entire world down. As the blood-colored streak of lightning and black demonic flame crashed into each other, monstrous destructive energy exploded in the air. Yi Qingtang looked up in the sky. The frightening force produced from the collision of the heavenly tribulation and Demon Lord Luoshua shattered the dimension wall completely this time. It was unpreventable and irrevocable. In no time, the powerful figures from the outside world would officially invade in roar. At this instant, the remaining bolts of lightning struck Demon Lord Luoshua's body aggressively. Demon Lord Luoshua roared in agony as he used his tough body to block the attack of the heavenly tribulation. Old Valley Master! Why are you doing this? Tears flowed from perfected Xuanshan's eyes like an unbroken stream as he looked at Demon Lord Luoshua, who was no longer human. Perfected Xianshan was not foolish and had already understood what happened to the Old Valley Master from the conversation before. In order to save his daughter, Perfected Xianshan once headed to the area between the clouds and mountains to search for the hidden ancient clan, which was documented in the historical records, and he wanted to find divine elixirs that could save his daughter's life. However, Perfected Xianshan never found any traces of the ancient clan and originally thought that the ancient clan did not even exist. Yet, today, they actually appeared in Falling Sky Valley, and what Perfected Xianshan never expected was that there seemed to be a deep-seated hatred between the hidden ancient clan and the Old Valley Master. Old Valley Master, the disciples of the 12 Peaks were brimming with tears as they looked at the completely demonized Old Valley Master in the air. How many young men and women in this world were deeply in love but unable to fulfill their passion and could only end their story on a heartbroken note? Quickly flee. Divine King Luoshua is burning his vitality. His thinking and body are completely demonized already. He is unable to live for long. We just need to wait for him to die. One hidden ancient clan member shouted hurriedly. At this instant, several hidden ancient clan elderlies fled towards the gold carriages. Chapter 1091 Obsession 3. However, a black destructive force shot out from Demon Lord Luoshua's third demon eye. In a split second, the destructive light pierced through those hidden clan figures who were escaping in a flurry, and they exploded into a bloody fog. All of the ancient clan powerful figures present at the scene died. After killing the ancient clan figures, Demon Lord Luo Shui gazed down at Falling Sky Valley. A glint flashed across his demon eyes as he opened his mouth to condense a black flame that was enough to destroy the entire Falling Sky Valley. Old Valley Master. Perfected Xianqian fell on his knees immediately, and tears streamed down his cheeks as he looked at Demon Lord Luo Shui. A complicated expression emerged in Demon Lord Luo Shui's demon eye, and the black flame ultimately dispersed. Just like that, Demon Lord Luo Shui flapped his wings and circled above Falling Sky Valley before looking at Yu Yun and flying toward her. However, he stopped a few meters away from Yu Yun and did not dare to get close to her. All he did was watch her silently from nearby. One could faintly notice his confusion and struggle. Old friend. Let go. It's time to wake up from this dream, the regicide Sky Blade sighed softly. Persuading Demon Lord Luo Shui to part from Yu Yun. Perhaps only the regicide Sky Blade itself knew how helpless it was. Soon, it was already nightfall. The force of the heavenly tribulation eventually faded. Bright stars dotted the sky. The moonlight penetrated through the clouds and lit Falling Sky Valley up. Demon Lord Luo Shui looked at Yu Yun without moving, fearful that he would disturb this lady, though he made a soft sound every now and then. He can't hold on any longer. Yi Qingtang felt a bitter feeling as she looked at Demon Lord Luo Shui, who was standing a distance away from Yu Yun. Wu, Demon Lord Luo Shui made a soft noise once again as he looked at Yu Yun. Ultimately, Demon Lord Luo Shui eventually finished burning the vitality in his body. That extremely big and tall frame fell from the sky, and his enormous wings no longer had the energy to flap. This descent, intentionally or unintentionally, landed beside Yu Yun. Laying on the cold ground, Demon Lord Luo Shui looked at the lady and opened his mouth, seeming to wish to say something, but he eventually did not utter a word. Just as the misery of Divine King Luo Shui previously, she could no longer hear his voice. Demon Lord Luo Shui stretched his demon palm out, wanting to touch Yu Yun. I heard your voice. Suddenly, what shocked everyone was that Yu Yun seemed to have gained consciousness, and she looked at Demon Lord Luo Shui, who was sinking into death. Yu Yun appeared bemused as she walked to Demon Lord Luo Shui and sat beside him. Why are you so sorrowful? Are you very sad? But why is my heart aching so badly? Have we met? Where was it? As Yu Yun spoke, her face was streaked with tears, though she was still as stunning and never aged. Yi Qingtang looked at Yu Yun, the extraordinary lady from 10,000 years ago. In astonishment. It was clearly just a conception of her obsession, but it actually had its own consciousness. Was this a trace of divinity? At this moment, Demon Lord Luo Shui let out a grief-stricken cry. The vitality in his body was completely burned out, and the pain tortured him like no tomorrow. Yi Qingtang did not know what kind of power allowed Demon Lord Luo Shui to hold on, but this was too cruel to him. Every time he breathed, it was the most miserable torture on earth. Chapter 1092 Obsession, 4, Old Valley Master. Don't suffer anymore. Old Valley Master. Tears raced down Perfected Xuanqian's cheeks, and he kneeled and bowed to Demon Lord Luo Shui. Old Valley Master. Falling Sky Valley's disciples, peak masters, and senior executives burst into tears, and they bowed to Demon Lord Luo Shui as well. At this moment, Demon Lord Luo Shui was still persevering. He stretched his demon hand out and gently wiped the lattice tears away. However, his demon hand passed through the lattice body and could not hold on to her. Wu, Demon Lord Luo Shui sobbed softly. Looking at this couple who had been separated for 10,000 years, Yi Qingtang looked down, and her heart weighed down as well. In both lives, she did not know what love was, but what she witnessed today made her feel that love was deep and impactful. At this moment, Yu Yun finally heard Demon Lord Luo Shue's voice. However, Demon Lord Luo Shue could no longer speak and could only make soft whimpers like a wild beast. It was just that his demon eye seemed to want to say something. Old friend. Stop persevering already. Take it as I'm begging you, the regicide Sky Blade said in a complicated tone. Currently, probably no one other than Demon Lord Luo Shue and the regicide Sky Blade knew the intensity of the pain that Demon Lord Luo Shue was bearing. She has already heard you, seen you, and known you, Yi Qingtang said softly as she looked at Demon Lord Luo Shue. Every breath that Divine King Luo Shue took was an excruciating torture. Without vitality, the torture was not just limited to his body but more so a misery from the soul. In her previous life, Yi Qingtang had admiration for the Divine King Luo Shue, who was documented in the historical records. Today, she met him and even learned of the deep love between him and Yu Yun. Looking at how Divine King Luo Shue refused to give up and rather bear the agonizing pain, Yi Qingtang eventually could not hold back and said, Divine King Luo Shue, she is already dead, don't obsess anymore. If Yu Yun were still alive, she probably would not be willing to see Divine King Luo Shue go through such torture. Divine King Luo Shue had never betrayed Yu Yun. Yi Qingtang's voice repeated in Demon Lord Luo Shue's mind over and over again. Wu, Demon Lord Luo Shue looked up at a bright star in the sky, but a woeful cry escaped him. The day was replaced by night. As Demon Lord Luo Shue looked at the lady who gradually disappeared, he was in a state of calmness. His demon eye was blurry while his demon palm was still up in the air, wanting to hold on to something which no longer existed. My heart is aching so badly. Before Yu Yun disappeared completely, this sentence resounded for a long time. Demon Lord Luo Shue's raised arms finally fell down powerlessly at this moment. 10,000 years ago, the man sat before a little tree for God knows how many years as he waited for the little tree to grow into a towering tree, for his jet-black hair to turn snow white. The man stood up slowly and buried all his love into the soil. From then on, he no longer mentioned it and sealed all of himself in this place. Between the mountains and clouds. That year, the flowers were in full bloom, and the forest was filled with the pleasant scent of flowers. Birds chirped in harmony. The sunlight was just right. Under the brilliant sunlight, the lady looked at him with certainty and declared that he would be hers. The man's white shirt blew in the wind. He looked at the lady in confusion, subsequently shook his head, and left. However, as the man turned around and left, his lips tugged up unknowingly. His heart that had been sealed for a long time, perhaps unbeknown to even himself, was melted by that lattice bright smile. I am Yu Yun, I am Luo Shue. Chapter 1093 Reincarnation of the Spiritual Abode, 1. The stars shone brightly in the night sky. Demon Lord Luo Shue was sprawled on the ground 10,000 years of waiting and persistence. He used his last trace of obsession to persist to the very last moment. Yet at this moment, he eventually died. Boom, boom. As Demon Lord Luo Shue died, this mainland's dimension wall exploded into a million pieces instantly. The last line of defense that protected this mainland was broken just like that. Looking at the breathless Demon Lord Luo Shue, the entire Falling Sky Valley masses were extremely downcast. The old valley master who built Falling Sky Valley by himself passed away right before their eyes. Look! Just as everyone was grief-stricken, a peak master suddenly pointed at Demon Lord Luo Shue's body and shouted. Upon hearing that, everyone's eyes instantly landed on Demon Lord Luo Shue. Yi Qingtang looked over as well. This glance stunned Yi Qingtang. Demon Lord Luo Shue's fallen body suddenly turned into a streak of black fog and penetrated into the ground. At the same time, a blinding white light erupted from the extraordinary lattice heart in Demon Lord Luo Shue's body. Before Yi Qingtang's shocked watch, a giant tree and vines sprouted up from the ground, but it became calm very quickly again. High up in the giant tree and above the vines were two fruits. Yi Qingtang's eyes were popped wide open. Those two fruits actually gradually grew into two babies before their naked eyes. Everyone in Falling Sky Valley looked in astonishment at the two babies that formed on the tree. Disbelief filled everyone. Instinctively, Yi Qingtang took a step forward and looked at the two babies on the tree. Those two babies, one boy and one girl, had exquisitely carved features, and their eyes were shut gently. Yi Qingtang glanced at them only to realize that those two babies actually looked similar to Demon Lord Luo Shui and the Extraordinary Lady. Reincarnation of the spiritual abode? Yi Qingtang mumbled almost instinctive as astonishment emerged in her eyes. The baby girl's body was crystal clear and had a heavy spiritual abode aura, while the baby boy had an overwhelming demon aura. In her previous life, after Yi Qingtang became a holy venerate, she happened to know a method that could allow a powerful figure to be reincarnated. It was called the reincarnation of the spiritual abode. This method required a powerful spiritual abode to work. The supposed source of the spiritual abode's energy was the extraordinary lattice heart. If this heart was broken, this mainland would no longer exist. However, because of Demon Lord Luo Shui, the extraordinary lattice heart was kept and stored away. Now, the two of them turned into two fruits on a tree and then turned into humans. Just as Yi Qingtang was caught in a trance, the baby boy on the tree suddenly opened his eyes. Seeming to not notice his surroundings, he immediately looked at the baby girl the first moment he opened his eyes, and his delicate little mouth suddenly opened. The baby boy seemed to be laughing as his big, bright eyes looked at the baby girl. The baby girl seemed to sense something, and her tightly shut eyes opened slowly and looked in the direction of that baby boy. Yu Yun. Demon Lord Luo Shui, Yi Qingtang looked up at the two babies with a complicated expression. Chapter 1094 Reincarnation of the Spiritual Abode. 2. Yi Qingtang was unsure whether this baby girl and baby boy were Yu Yun and Demon Lord Luo Shui. It was just that these two babies looked too similar to both of them. Logically speaking, Yu Yun had died too long ago, and although her heart was stored, it should not be able to allow her to be reborn as a human. However, Yu Yun's spiritual abode was already different from that from ordinary people, and it was unknown if there were any unexpected occurrences. No one could be sure of what was happening exactly. Even Yi Qingtang could not be certain of the reason behind this abnormal situation before their eyes. Just as Yi Qingtang was observing the two babies, the Falling Sky Valley masses seemed to also be looking at the two babies carefully. After seeing the face of that baby boy, one of the dejected peak masters suddenly broke out into a smile as though he found a straw to clutch at. He wiped his tears away and pointed at the baby boy. Look! This little boy looks so similar to Old Valley Master. He must be the reincarnation of the Old Valley Master. There's no wrong in this. Quickly look, that's right. That must be the case. Another Falling Sky Valley Peak Master immediately suppressed his agony and nodded repeatedly. I've already heard enough to understand just now. Our Falling Sky Valley's Old Valley Master is Divine King Luo Shui from 10,000 years ago. For someone who is known as half a god, it is nothing for him to be reincarnated after death. Demon Lord Luo Shui built Falling Sky Valley all by himself and was kind and magnanimous to everyone in Falling Sky Valley. Regardless of the internal strife within Falling Sky Valley, the Old Valley Master was always the icon of respect for every Peak Master. As the Peak Masters stepped forward successively and looked at the baby boy, anticipatory comments could be heard. It was as though they had already firmly believed that the baby boy was none other than Demon Lord Luo Shui, who died a while ago. At this instant, the birth of the two babies in Falling Sky Valley swept the despair away. No matter the Peak Masters or disciples, everyone's attention was attracted by the babies, which hung on the enormous tree, and they seemed to be influenced by the pure, genuine smiles of the babies. What should we do? The two kids can't possibly be hung on the tree. Perfected Xianchen frowned slightly, and he instinctively looked at Yi Qingtang. After going through this saga, the entire Falling Sky Valley had viewed the young Lord Yi Qingtang as the backbone of Falling Sky Valley, and everyone instinctively sought for her opinion. Nonetheless, Yi Qingtang had never encountered such a situation before and could not make the most accurate judgment in a short time. "Well, wait and see." After a long while, Yi Qingtang said cautiously. "Since they are born on this tree and are so young right now, we cannot be sure if they will be injured if they are forcefully detached from this tree." Although Yi Qingtang was unaware of this enigma, she somehow felt that the two babies should be absorbing the nutrients of the giant tree. Everyone nodded upon hearing her. Perhaps because they felt that the baby boy was the reincarnation of Demon Lord Luo Shui, the Falling Sky Valley masses looked slightly more relieved. Only Yi Qingtang was still frowning deeply and showed no signs of relaxation. Just as everyone heaved a sigh of relief, a wild gust of wind kicked up out of a sudden. The endless wild wind seemed to want to tear everything in the world into pieces, and a piercing sound rang in the surroundings. At the same time, a pair of blood-colored eyes seemed to replace the moon as it looked down at Falling Sky Valley. A boundless and enormous force enshrouded everything that existed. Chapter 1095 Reincarnation of the Spiritual Abode, 3, What is that thing? Everyone in Falling Sky Valley was appalled by the situation as they looked in disbelief. An eye that was actually as huge as the moon appeared in the sky by itself. "It's still here." Yi Qingtang looked at that blood-colored eye with a frown and sighed softly. The dimension wall was the extraordinary lattice last protection for this mainland. A portion of it was already broken previously and currently, as the dimension wall was completely broken, the ancient clan of that extraordinary lady might have found this place already. 10,000 years ago, the extraordinary lady almost became a god and possessed powers that surpassed the scope of this world. Similarly, that ancient clan was extremely powerful 10,000 years ago as well. However, 10,000 years later today, the martial culture was backward and could not be compared to its initial years, and that ancient clan no longer had any gods. Yet, now that this mainland's dimension wall was broken, they naturally desired to take the extraordinary lattice spiritual abode away as it could raise the powers of their entire ancient clan by more than 10 times, 1,000 miles away from this mainland. Thousands of battleships above an ancient river were set on sail towards the mainland. Enormous demonic beasts pulled countless huge carriages in the air and led the battleships. "Ha! Finally found it," a fuzzy voice sounded in the air. The energy source of the spiritual abode turned into a baby girl. "We just need to obtain the baby girl and destroy the entire mainland. We also need to be careful. That mainland was once cursed by Yu Yun. Its spirit energy is extremely thin. When we reach that mainland, our martial skill will also be suppressed to the peak of the Yang Lord realm. Ha! That is why this will be an interesting war." In Falling Sky Valley, Yi Qingtang wore a serious expression. This day still came in the end, an unprecedented calamity would eventually befall on this mainland. At this instant, the peerless school wardens who were previously killed and then revived by Demon Lord Luo Shui looked at the blood-colored eye in the sky. Seeming to sense something, their expression changed instantly, and they left with the peerless school disciples. On the other hand, the Falling Sky Valley masses were in a panic. In the next few days, there was no longer any movement in that huge tree. However, the baby boy and the baby girl grew rapidly at an observable speed. In a few days, the two babies who were just newborns had already grown into children that were 2 to 3 years old. The unusual phenomenon in the sky created a paranoid atmosphere. Perfected Xianchen gave an order that forbade anyone from going near the giant tree and the two babies. Yi Qingtang was the only exception. In the deep night, Yi Qingtang stood beside the giant tree and inspected the young boy and girl. The boy's clear eyes made eye contact with Yi Qingtang, and he subsequently stretched his hands out towards Yi Qingtang. As she looked at the tiny hands that were stretched out towards herself, a warm smile spread across Yi Qingtang's face. She slowly walked forward and held the boy's hands gently. The girl opened her beautiful, bright eyes and looked at Yi Qingtang and the boy curiously. However, Yi Qingtang shuddered the moment she touched the boy, and the aura of a yin-yang perfected Lord 10th Heaven instantly rushed into Yi Qingtang's brain. This is, after sensing a yin-yang perfected Lord 10th Heaven force, a strange sentiment struck Yi Qingtang. Chapter 1096 Plunder 1, I see, Yi Qingtang mumbled after a long while. There was a trace of the aura of the 10th heaven of yin-yang perfected Lord left in the boy's hand. Based on the aura, Yi Qingtang discovered that there was a sealed vein deep in the dantian. It seemed like a huge iron door. In order to enter the 9th heaven, or even the 10th, one needed to open the iron door. Yi Qingtang withdrew her hand after a long while. Her eyes were filled with complex emotions. The aura of 10th heaven of yin-yang perfected Lord in the boy's hand was exactly the same as the Luo Shui Demon King. Yi Qingtang was very sure at this point that the boy was the Luo Shui Demon King that was dead. The girl should be the extraordinary Lady Yu Yun. Mother, the boy was slightly grudging when Yi Qingtang pulled her hand back. Yi Qingtang was stunned as the boy suddenly spoke. The baby just called her mother. The boy suddenly laughed as Yi Qingtang spoke. Before Yi Qingtang could say anything, both the boy and the girl seemed to be tired. They closed their eyes and fell asleep. Yi Qingtang felt even more complicated. She just confirmed that the Luo Shui Demon King was reborn as the little boy, and the powerful person that she admired in her previous life just called her mother. Yi Qingtang suddenly did not know how to react. But soon, her emotions faded, and she looked up into the sky. The giant blood-red eye was still there in midair. Based on her calculations, the invaders from the second mainland were going to be here soon. Yi Qingtang frowned with a heavy heart. Another 2 days had passed. The peace in the Falling Sky Valley only remained for a few days and was broken again today. The hidden ancient clan appeared in the sky again. A few powerful people of the ancient clan sparkled as they saw the boy and the girl on the giant tree. All peak masters and disciples of Falling Sky Valley ran to the tree and protected the boy and the girl with their bodies. One middle-aged man of the hidden ancient clan's sight landed on the two children. A strange glint appeared in his eyes. The boy should be the reincarnation of Luo Shui Demon King. The girl should be where the power of the spiritual abode comes from. We can achieve anything if we can get the girl. There were 3 yin-yang perfected lords who were at the 10th heaven in the hidden ancient clan. All of them were killed by the Luo Shui Demon King. Now, there were no more 10th heaven yin-yang perfected lords in the ancient clan anymore. As long as they could get the girl, besides the 10th heaven, they could even break the curse of the mainland. If they could consume her body, they could even get immortal life. Suddenly, the aura of 8th heaven yin-yang perfected lords surrounded the entire Falling Sky Valley. Everyone's expression changed upon feeling the terrifying aura. Well, spare your life if you hand over the boy and the girl to us. One of the middle-aged men looked down at everyone in the Falling Sky Valley and said. Don't even think about it. One of the peak masters shouted coldly. They were very sure that the boy was the reincarnation of their old valley master. Chapter 1097 Plunder 2. They would never hand over the boy and the girl even if they had to die here today. The few ancient clan people were a little surprised after hearing that. Apparently, they did not expect that the people below dared to resist their orders. Their faces immediately clouded. They had never put people of the Falling Sky Valley in their eyes. It was extremely easy to kill everyone in the valley. However, the girl was very fragile. They could kill everyone in the valley instantly. However, the force might hurt the girl as well. They could not afford the loss if the girl died here. You overestimated your capabilities. A few ancient clan people landed and walked straight towards the huge tree. What do you want? A few peak masters walked forward, trying to block them. However, before they could get to the ancient clan people, they had to retreat under their aura. All the ancient clan people were young lords. Normal people could never be able to fight them. Perfected Xianchen and the rest could not do anything in front of the ancient clan people even though they wanted to protect the two babies. The boy seemed to feel the greedy side of the ancient clan people. He suddenly landed onto the ground from the tree after staying on the tree for the past few days. When he was falling, he hugged the girl's feet and dragged her down as well. The moment the two of them landed, the boy pulled the confused girl towards somewhere safe. Oh, the few ancient clan people's lips tugged up into an unknown smile, and their interest seemed to be aroused. However, one of them stepped out and blocked the boy's way. The boy fell to the ground and moved back a few steps back. The girl stared at the ancient clan figure with fear. The boy rushed forward again. He stretched his hands and pulled the girl behind her. Ha ha ha, Luo Shui Demon King, how did you end up like this now? Interesting, this is very interesting. The middle-aged man in the golden robe stared at the boy with interest and laughed. However, Luo Shui Demon King, you don't need to rush. After getting the woman's spiritual abode, we will nurture you. You will be the most powerful killer of the hidden ancient clan. In the future, you'll act according to our order and be a puppet. You'll have no sorrow and anxiety. The middle-aged man in the golden robe laughed again. The boy was the reincarnation of Luo Shui Demon King and might even possess martial talent beyond the Luo Shui Demon King. If he could grow up, he would be a renowned supreme chief. The ancient clan would dare to attack the third domain with his help. The girl shivered and hid behind the boy. Her eyes were filled with fear and anxiety. Listen to me and move now. The middle-aged man in the golden robe stared at the boy and smiled coldly. However, the boy did not seem to hear his words as he had no intention to move. Humph, it seems like you don't know what the right thing to do is. The smile on the middle-aged man in golden robe faded. His face was cold and expressionless. Chapter 1098 Plunder 3. The middle-aged man in the golden robe kneeled down and snapped the boy's forehead with his finger. The boy was pushed backward and fell to the ground. The man in the golden robe scoffed and grabbed the girl. The boy got up suddenly and ran toward the man in golden robe. His eyes were red. He waved his little fist and punched towards the man's leg. Little bastard. No wonder you're the reincarnation of the Luo Shui Demon Lord. Exactly like him. The man in the golden robe scoffed and kicked the boy away. I have to admit that the little bastard is indeed special. I don't know how you magically grow on a tree after reincarnation. Your body is so strong without any cultivation at such a young age. The man in the golden robe laughed coldly. If he was a normal child, he would not be able to endure the man's kick at all. Jin Gang, take the little bastard as well. The man in the golden robe gave a command to a strong man behind him. The strong man of the ancient clan nodded. He stepped forward and grabbed the boy's hair to pull him up from the ground. What do you want? Let go of the two children. Perfected Xianchen and a few peak masters walked forward and tried to stop the ancient clan people. A bunch of useless idiots. The golden-robed man shouted in rage. His strong martial aura suddenly flowed out. Perfected Xianchen and the rest were forced backward by the aura. Humph, you'll be dead now if there was no presence of the source of the spiritual abode here, the man in the golden robe sneered. Before Perfected Xianchen and the rest could say anything, a red shadow suddenly flashed across the air. Swoosh! A scarlet gleam rushed into the sky as the sword slashed towards the man in the golden robe. The man in the golden robe dodged backward when he sensed the threat. However, the girl in his hand was grabbed away by the scarlet figure instantly. Read more chapters at List Novel. Calm. The scarlet figure hugged the girl and smashed her other hand towards the strong man of the ancient clan at the same time. The strong man was not able to dodge. He was hit by the hand directly, and the boy in his hand was taken away as well. The figure then showed herself. Yi Qingtang was dressed in red and hugged the girl and the boy. She looked towards the man in the golden robe and the rest coldly. Hidden ancient clan. How majestic. How dare you to bully two children here? Yang Lord, the few ancient clan figures were a little surprised after sensing Yi Qingtang's Yang Lord power. They did not expect that there was a Yang Lord in the negligible sect. Furthermore, she must be very powerful to be able to take the two children from their hands. The boy was delighted as Yi Qingtang appeared. He grabbed her right hand tightly. Be good. Yi Qingtang bent down and put down the girl. She handed over the girl to the boy and smiled. Take care of her. The boy's eyes sparkled and nodded. Yi Qingtang stood up. Her red clothes were swaying in the wind. She took a step forward and scanned through the ancient clan figures coldly. You want to take the two of them away? Chapter 1099 I will certainly protect you. 1. One of the ancient clan figures looked up at Yi Qingtang and scoffed. It's not easy for you to become a young lord. Leave right now. You do not want to be involved in this. However, Yi Qingtang had no intention to leave at all. She stepped forward, and her eyes swept through everyone coldly. Both the Luo Shui Divine King and the extraordinary lady had nothing to do with her previously. However, after witnessing everything that happened between the Luo Shui Divine King and Yu Roa, she could not just stand at the side. Yi Qingtang was reborn and went through 2 lives. She understood the kindness and hopelessness in the world. She only acted according to her heart. She would definitely protect the 2 children. They're my son and daughter. What kind of relationship do I have with them? Yi Qingtang showed no sense of fear even though she was facing a few young lords alone. Your son and daughter. The few ancient clan figures looked at each other and laughed. The boy and the girl grew from the tree, and you're saying that they're your son and daughter? The man in the golden robe scorned. Yi Qingtang's sight swept through the 2 children beside her. The boy called her mother a few days ago. She did not know how to react back then, but today, she accepted that. From today onwards, she would be their mother. She would definitely protect them no matter what was going to happen ahead. Now I am, Yi Qingtang said indifferently. Oh, the eyes of the man in the golden robe darkened. You're saying that you purposely want to go against the ancient clan now? Yi Qingtang did not want to find any trouble, but, she was not afraid of anything. Read more chapters at List Novel. At the same time in the Blood Moon Palace, a blood-red robe was swaying along with the wind. The blood moon at the man's glabella spread its heretic power as the man opened his eyes slowly. Is it time for the decision? The man mumbled softly. Lord, what are you going to do? A young man's figure appeared. I have my decision. The blood moon holy lord waved his right arm and disappeared. In the falling sky valley, Yi Qingtang was more determined against the few ancient clan figures. She showed no intention to retreat. Today, I'll certainly protect these 2 children, Yi Qingtang said coldly towards the golden-robed man. His face darkened upon hearing her words. The ancient clan was the ruler of the mainland. Though they remained hidden, their power was insurmountable. You're looking for your death here. The man in golden robe shouted. His martial power spread towards all directions instantly and surrounded the falling sky valley. Yi Qingtang did not even frown after sensing the power of the young lord. She had nothing to be afraid of as long as they were not the 10th heaven elders of the ancient clan. Swoosh! The golden-robed man pulled his sword out and slashed towards Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang grabbed the boy and the girl immediately and stepped backward swiftly. A deafening sound exploded. As the sword glint flashed, the palace behind Yi Qingtang collapsed. All retreat first. Yi Qingtang glanced at everyone of the Falling Sky Valley and said. The Falling Sky Valley's power was incomparable with the hidden ancient clan. The fight between young lords could kill everyone of the Falling Sky Valley with just the aftershocks. Chapter 1100 I will certainly protect you, too. Though everyone in the Falling Sky Valley was very anxious, they knew clearly that their abilities were incomparable with the ancient clan figures. They could not do anything and had to retreat and keep a safe distance away from them. The entire square was empty instantly. After settling the two children, Yi Qingtang was ready to walk forward. However, before she could walk out, the boy suddenly hugged her leg. Yi Qingtang paused and looked down at the little figure who was hugging her leg. The boy's eyes were filled with concern and anxiety. It seemed like he did not want Yi Qingtang to leave and hugged her leg even more tightly. A smile filled Yi Qingtang's eyes as she saw the anxiety on the little boy's face. She was never the target of concern in the past. Before Yi Qingtang could ask the little boy to release his hand, the little girl, who was standing at the side, suddenly ran over and mimicked the boy's movement to hug Yi Qingtang's other leg. Yi Qingtang suddenly did not know how to react as she stared at the two children who were hugging her legs and did not want her to leave. Did the two little children really recognize her as their mother? "M.O., mother." Scared, the boy's eyes sparkled as he mumbled. "Protect her. I will be back soon, okay?" Yi Qingtang looked at the boy kindly and gently touched his head. Yes, though the child was not very willing to let go, eventually he nodded. He released Yi Qingtang and stood beside the girl. Yi Qingtang stood up as the softness in her eyes was replaced by a trace of malice. Yi Qingtang turned into a shadow instantly and disappeared. The moment when Yi Qingtang left, one of the ancient clan figures suddenly appeared from a corner and came to the boy and the girl. A black glint exploded from the boy's eyes as he sensed the intention of the man. His body was filled with intense fiend aura. The fiend aura was like a deep whirlpool that caused the ancient clan figure to retreat backward. Read more chapters at List Novel. Not bad. The ancient clan figure's eyes sparkled as he sensed the power of the fiend aura. The power of Yang Lord suddenly arose, and the fiend aura was dispersed. He stretched his hand towards the boy. However, at the same time, a sword shadow suddenly flashed across together with a terrifying sword aura. Puff! Before the ancient clan figure could understand the situation, his right arm was chopped off by the sword breath. The ancient clan figure screamed and stepped back. The heaven-level divine weapon, Regicide Sky Blade, landed from the air and pierced into the ground, in front of the boy and the girl. Divine King Luo Shui's heaven-level divine weapon, Regicide Sky Blade. The ancient clan figure gritted his teeth as he stared at the sword. He tried to stop the bleeding of his arm and did not dare to get close. Yi Qingtang did not leave the place as she planned to hide in the dark to see if anyone would sneak attack. The result was as she had expected. However, she did not expect that the divine King Luo Shui's Regicide Sky Blade would suddenly appear and protect the two children. This turn of events gave Yi Qingtang a sense of relief. The hidden ancient clan had too many young lords. If just one of them refused to let her go, she would be unable to escape, and they could kill the two children. Now, with the protection of a heaven-level divine weapon, Yi Qingtang could stop worrying. However, Yi Qingtang also knew that ever since the fall of the divine King Luo Shui, the Regicide Sky Blade's divine sense had been sealed again. Right now, the Regicide Sky Blade did not have much power left and might not be able to last for long. You have a death wish. A cold light glittered in the eyes of the golden-robed middle-aged man. He stepped forward. The entire Falling Sky Valley seemed to shudder violently. The golden-robed man struck at Yi Qingtang. His sword stroke was one of incomparable martial willpower. Yi Qingtang frowned deeply at the strength of this willpower. The powerful cultivators from the ancient hidden clan did not have the power of a yin-yang perfected Lord 10th Heaven, but their martial arts foundation was very strong. Even Yi Qingtang did not dare to underestimate them. In a moment, Yi Qingtang and the golden-robed man were embroiled in a sword duel. In an instant, the two had exchanged a dozen blows. As the long swords clashed, the ringing noise reverberated continually. The swords flashed repeatedly through the air as if it had become a country of swords. The golden-robed man looked at Yi Qingtang with a trace of shock. This young girl was only a yin-yang perfected lord at the peak of the 7th heaven, but her true ability was on par with that of an 8th heaven yin-yang perfected lord. Wow, the young geniuses in this mainland. The golden-robed man looked thoughtful. Considering Yi Qingtang's age, she was already incredibly talented to attain the 7th heaven of yin-yang perfected lord. To the golden-robed man, an ordinary yang lord was not even worth mentioning. But this girl was different. Heavenly tyrant technique. The golden-robed man suddenly bellowed in rage. A blinding golden glow surfaced on his body. His entire person seemed to explode with the light of a small sun. At the same time, the golden-robed man once again raised the sword in his hand and struck at Yi Qingtang. Clang! A crisp ringing sound resounded in the void. At that moment, a crimson glow surfaced all around Yi Qingtang. The figure of a phoenix appeared behind her. A pair of clear eyes that seemed to pierce through heaven and earth, and a breath of ancient air rushed towards him. As he felt a force pressing against his bloodline, the golden-robed man's expression changed slightly, and he retreated. However, Yi Qingtang did not give the golden-robed man any breathing space. She forced the power of her phoenix bloodline to its peak and used her person to oppress the golden-robed man. Humph! The golden-robed man grunted coldly. As Yi Qingtang drew near, he did not dodge but advanced instead. If you let me come near you, you will certainly die. The golden-robed man transformed into an illusion. When he reappeared, he had already caught hold of Yi Qingtang's right arm. When she heard that, Yi Qingtang's lips curved upward slightly and arched into a sly smile. If I did not deliberately make a mistake, you couldn't possibly touch me. The golden-robed man laughed coldly. You are at death's door and you still want to have the last word? Now that I have caught you, you're dead. As he spoke, a trace of a black glow surfaced on the golden-robed man's right palm. It was filled with a startling corrosive force. This corrosive force could corrode a mountain, much less a body. However, at that moment, Yi Qingtang's body suddenly burst into crimson flames. Within the span of 2 breaths, Yi Qingtang had used the power of the divine phoenix's bloodline to completely transform into a towering ball of fire. The golden-robed man looked somewhat perplexed. He looked at the ball of roaring flames, unable to recover his wits. At that moment, 2 other powerful cultivators from the ancient clan looked shocked. It was clear that the golden-robed middle-aged man had fallen into this girl's trap. Yi Qingtang had the divine phoenix's bloodline and understood its ultimate origin skill. These 2 forces had been perfectly integrated in Yi Qingtang's body and could transform into a pure manifestation of power. This destructive flame was a type of pure manifestation of power and was imbued with a huge destructive force. Considering the golden-robed middle-aged man's abilities, he was so near to Yi Qingtang that he would certainly die if he was surrounded and burned by the pure fire that Yi Qingtang had transformed into. However, just as the expressions of these 2 powerful cultivators of the ancient clan changed, after Yi Qingtang transformed into pure flames, the golden-robed middle-aged man did not have time to react before his entire body was consumed by the flames. His entire person was instantly burned into ashes. Having pulled off her move smoothly, the towering pure flames concentrated at one point again and transformed into Yi Qingtang's actual self. The other 2 powerful cultivators of the ancient tribe tried to rescue him, but it was too late. They had not been prepared for Yi Qingtang to transform into flames, much less the golden-robed man. In addition, the flames had been just too powerful. The golden-robed man had been completely burned in an instant, and they had not been in time to act. Was that the power of the Phoenix bloodline? A few powerful cultivators of the ancient clan glared at Yi Qingtang. Their expressions were extremely gloomy. Don't underestimate your enemy. A cold light glittered in the eyes of the ancient clan's powerful cultivators. The power of this girl's bloodline could probably be traced to ancient times. Furthermore, her body could be transformed into the pure power of fire. That would be difficult to deal with. Before the powerful cultivators of the ancient tribe could make any move, the giant blood-red eye in the void suddenly started to move. In an instant, the giant blood-red eye exploded in a storm of blood-red rays. The next moment, everyone saw the blood-red rays condense into arrows, which continually rushed out from the eye. They shot towards this mainland in all directions. Boom! 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 A blood-red arrow fell on a mountain near the falling sky valley. Under everyone's startled gaze, the entire mountain instantly transformed into dust and was completely crushed. Eye of extermination. At that moment, the powerful cultivators of the ancient tribe all looked shocked. At that moment, everyone finally understood what the eye in the void was. Let's go. The powerful cultivators of the ancient clan exchanged glances and instantly came to a decision. Even a young lord at the level of Yin Yang perfected lord could not withstand the huge power of the Eye of Extermination. If they even brushed against it, they would be reduced to dust. But because of this mainland, the Eye of Extermination's powers were weakened. However, the ancient hidden tribe was unwilling to go up against it casually. Even the power of a weakened Eye of Extermination was sufficient to severely injure them. It was too dangerous to remain here. If they returned to the ancient clan, they might still be able to withstand the power of the Eye of Extermination. With that, the powerful cultivators of the ancient clan flew into the void and vanished without a trace. Blood-red destructive forces continued to pour out of the giant eye in the void. Every arrow that flew out was the accumulation of destructive force. When they landed on various parts of the mainland, they completely exterminated every living thing there. We've been looking for you for a long time. As these things were going on, a group of men and women appeared in the void. Yin Yang Child glared down at Yi Qingtang and laughed coldly. Absolute Monarch of Heaven waved his hand, and everyone immediately descended into the valley. After the events of the Dragon Vein had concluded, they tried to leave the mainland, but for some reason, this mainland had been tightly sealed by someone. They had no way of breaking the seal from within and so had no choice but to stay in this mainland. Yi Qingtang had obtained the incomparable Divine Phoenix's inheritance in the Dragon Vein, and everyone wanted to look for her to see if she could use the power of the Divine Phoenix to break the seal. Everyone swiftly descended into the falling sky valley. Yi Qingtang looked at Yin Yang Child and the others who had suddenly arrived, and a trace of shock involuntarily flashed across her eyes. An idea suddenly rose in her heart. Everyone, please lend me a hand, Yi Qingtang said as she looked at Absolute Monarch of Heaven and the others. When they heard Yi Qingtang's words, everyone was taken aback. They did not know what she meant. You want us to join forces and stop the Eye of Extermination? A black-robed old man looked at Yi Qingtang. That's right. Yi Qingtang nodded slightly. The Eye of Extermination was formidable. By herself, she could not oppose it. Once the power of the Eye of Extermination engulfed them, not a soul would be left alive in the falling sky valley. Fortunately, Yin Yang Child and the others had arrived at an opportune moment. Yi Qingtang remembered the promise they had made when they had obtained the treasure from the Divine Phoenix's inheritance. This would certainly come in use now. Everyone exchanged glances. Although they did not know why Yi Qingtang wanted to protect this area, they had promised the divine phoenix and signed a contract with it, agreeing to help the person who obtained the inheritance as much as possible. The contract was linked to the girl who had obtained the inheritance of the divine phoenix, Yi Qingtang. If Yi Qingtang had not used the power of the divine phoenix's bloodline, they would not have been able to find her so quickly. Everyone, the power of the Eye of Extermination is great, but it is not difficult to block it, Black and White Holy Sun said. The next second, amazing power flowed out around everyone. It formed into a substantial shield that could be seen by the naked eye, and it enclosed the falling sky valley. When the arrows of extermination fell on the shield jointly created by everyone, it was like water sinking into sand. It did not even leave any ripples. After Yi Qingtang had left instructions with Absolute Monarch of Heaven, Black and White Holy Sun, and the others, she headed for the formidable Heavens dynasty with the 2 children. Nothing would go amiss in the falling sky valley with the powerful cultivators in central mainland protecting it. However, based on their ability and foundation, the Yi and Si families had no way of withstanding the power of the Eye of Extermination. Yi Qingtang could not help but worry about the 2 children, so she had no choice but to bring them with her. Yi Qingtang arrived at the Yunxiao sect within a few hours. The Yi family's headquarters had been moved here. At first glance, she could tell that almost half the Yunxiao sect had been destroyed by the power of the Eye of Extermination. Everyone from the Yi and Si families was trying their best to hold out. Although Yi Qingtang did not know why the Si family was here, she had no time to ponder the matter further. Swoosh! At that moment, a blood-red arrow fell from the void and headed for the Yunxiao sect. When they saw that, everyone from the Yi and Si families looked shocked. They were unable to withstand such a strong destructive force. However, at that moment, Yi Qingtang descended from the void. Her entire body was filled with an immense demonic aura. She swiftly forced the heavenly demon devouring bloodline to its peak. Boom! Yi Qingtang reached out and grabbed the blood-red arrow, which instantly exploded in her palm. However, the force of destruction was absorbed by the heavenly demon devouring power. At that moment, a trace of shock surfaced in Yi Qingtang's eyes. After she absorbed the force of the Eye of Extermination, both her personal cultivation level and the strength of her heavenly demon devouring bloodline were elevated. Eldest young lady. When they saw Yi Qingtang, Bai Kuei and Daoist Zijin looked rather agitated. Yi Qingtang rapidly descended among the ruins of the Yunxiao sect. Master Si, Yi Ling, and the others all quickly surrounded Yi Qingtang. Tang, what's going on? Yi Ling walked over to Yi Qingtang and asked with a frown. A few days ago, a blood-red eye had appeared in the void. No one in the Yi family recognized the giant blood-red eye. When the Si family heard that the Yi family had exterminated the Yunxiao sect, Master Si brought Si Bai and the others in his family over to congratulate them. However, not long after they arrived, the blood-red giant eye suddenly exploded with a terrifying force of destruction. A large portion of the Yunxiao sect had been destroyed. If Yi Qingtang had not arrived in time, the consequences would have been devastating. Even Bai Kuei and Daoist Zijin were at a loss, much less Yi Ling. They did not know what the blood-red giant eye was. Yi Qingtang explained the sequence of events so that everyone could be mentally prepared. The fight between this mainland and central mainland's ancient tribe would soon cause widespread death and destruction. Even Yi Qingtang could not say for sure if she would survive. A powerful enemy from the external world has invaded. When they heard Yi Qingtang's explanation, both the Yi and the Si families were shocked. All of you pack your things and come with me to the 9 Knights Dynasty's Falling Sky Valley, Yi Qingtang said bluntly. This place was dangerous. Only the Falling Sky Valley, which was protected by many powerful cultivators of central mainland, was somewhat safer. All right. As time was pressing, they did not ask any more questions and followed Yi Qingtang's instructions. At that moment, Yi Qingtang was standing in the void. She was looking at the blood-red arrows that were scattered everywhere. A mysterious gleam appeared in her eyes. With that, Yi Qingtang started actively flying towards the blood-red arrows. These arrows of extermination could be devoured by her heavenly demon-devouring bloodline. Besides elevating her own personal cultivation level, it could also purify her bloodline. Yi Qingtang could not waste such a golden opportunity. Under the shocked gaze of the Yi and Si families, Yi Qingtang actively headed for the arrows of extermination. When she touched them, these arrows that were imbued with the power of destruction were instantly transformed into nothing. They were completely absorbed by Yi Qingtang. After half a day, the arrows of extermination within a radius of 100 miles had been almost completely devoured by Yi Qingtang. When Yi Qingtang reappeared in the sky above the Yunxiao sect, her cultivation level had increased significantly. Yin Yang perfected Lord 8th Heaven, Yi Qingtang muttered to herself thoughtfully. That's strange. I can't tell what eldest young lattice cultivation level is anymore. Daoist Zijin stared at Yi Qingtang in shock. Yi Qingtang had absorbed many arrows of extermination. The aura in her body had reverted to its original state so that her ability was hidden. Her aura now looked no different from that of an ordinary cultivator. Especially after the small boy had enlightened her on how to enter the 10th heaven of Yin Yang perfected Lord, Yi Qingtang's aura was now near intangible. Are you ready? Yi Qingtang looked down in the direction of the Yunxiao sect. We are ready. Elder Bai Kuei nodded. When she heard that, Yi Qingtang nodded and led both families in the direction of Falling Sky Valley. The Formidable Heavens dynasty and the Nine Knights dynasty were far apart. However, the Yunxiao sect was situated in the portion of the Formidable Heavens dynasty that was near the external world, so it was not too bad. Because Absolute Monarch of Heaven, Black and White Holy Sun, and the other powerful cultivators of Central Mainland were holding the fort in Falling Sky Valley, the Eye of Extermination had not posed too great of a threat. At that moment, in the public square of the Falling Sky Valley, the two children were following Yi Qingtang closely. They were unwilling to leave her, even for a minute, and Yi Qingtang had no choice but to allow them to do so. Qingtang, these are, perfected Zuanshan's eyes were filled with astonishment. He looked first at Absolute Monarch of Heaven and the other powerful cultivators from Central Mainland, then at the Yi and Si families. Yi Qingtang did not hide their identities and introduced everyone. And these are friends from Central Mainland? Perfected Xianchen and the group from the Falling Sky Valley looked at Absolute Monarch of Heaven, Yin Yang Child, Black and White Holy Sun, and the others. They were somewhat shocked. In the first domain, Central Mainland was the mainland with the most flourishing martial culture. Also, Central Mainland's land area was hundreds of times bigger than that of this mainland. A small country in Central Mainland probably had as much land area as this mainland. So you are a native of this mainland, how unexpected. A man in black armor looked at Yi Qingtang and laughed softly. They had thought that Yi Qingtang, who had obtained the inheritance of the divine phoenix, was also a citizen of Central Mainland. But it turned out that, Yi Qingtang was from this mainland. This realization surprised everyone. After all, this mainland's reputation for martial arts was beneath the notice of the powerful cultivators of Central Mainland. They had not expected that their longed-for inheritance of the divine phoenix would be obtained by Yi Qingtang, who was from this mainland. To the others from Central Mainland, this was shocking. However, they did not discuss it further. How strange, why is the ancient Yu clan attacking this mainland? Yin Yang Child looked at the Eye of Extermination in the void, his expression perplexed. Ancient clan. When he heard that, Perfected Xianchen was taken aback. Don't you know? Yin Yang Child looked at Perfected Xianchen and the other local residents. But on second thought, there was no reason for them to know about this, and he continued. The ancient Yu clan is one of the oldest clans in Central Mainland. They can trace their roots back for 10,000 years. In the past, an emperor-level tyrant emerged in the ancient Yu clan. He was almost a demigod, but unfortunately, 10,000 years later, the first domain's martial culture declined for some reason. The heavenly venerate-level powerful cultivators were all at their peak. Even the ancient Yu clan could not escape their fate and declined. You may say that, but it was not just the ancient Yu clan that declined, but the entire first domain, said a black-robed old man from central mainland. "10,000 years ago, the first domain was more powerful than even the third domain. However, the first domain had a gap in its history. After the gap, the first domain started to decline and became the most backward of the three domains in terms of martial culture," the black-robed old man said. "I think you had better be prepared. The ancient Yu clan is truly dominant within central mainland. Even the heavenly demon bloodline clan's domain monarch and his kin are unwilling to provoke the ancient Yu clan. Once their eye of extermination appears, the entire area will become desolate. If the ancient Yu clan wishes to invade this mainland, then it will certainly be exterminated." Yin Yang Child laughed coldly. The ancient Yu clan's perennial wars had extended to many of the more powerful mainlands in the first domain, not to mention a low-level mainland like this one. Even many of the high-level mainlands in the first domain had been exterminated and annexed by the ancient Yu clan. Now, the power of the ancient Yu clan was beyond estimation. Rumor had it that the ancient Yu clan needed a mere half a month to exterminate a high-level mainland. To Yin Yang Child, Black and White Holy Sun, and the others, if the ancient Yu clan wanted to exterminate this mainland, it would only take 2 or 3 days. When they heard that, everyone in the Falling Sky Valley turned pale. They had grown up in this mainland. No matter how backward it was in terms of martial culture or how low-level it was in the first domain, it was special to them. How could they bear to see this mainland exterminated? Their parents, relatives, siblings, and all their accompanying memories were tied to this mainland. They could not bear to abandon it, but now, no matter how they wished to protect it, they were so frail in the eyes of the powerful ancient tribe of central mainland. How could this happen? Perfected Xianchen was slightly pale. After he learned from the powerful cultivators of central mainland about how powerful the ancient Yu clan was, Perfected Xianchen was desperate. "It is not inevitable." At that moment, Yi Qingtang suddenly spoke up. "Not inevitable?" Yin Yang Child stared at Yi Qingtang. He lifted his brows slightly and laughed coldly. "What do you know? Do you know how powerful the ancient Yu clan is?" Yi Qingtang flicked a glance at Yin Yang Child. This brat was asking for a good thrashing. Fortunately, he was capable enough, and his father was fairly capable. Otherwise, his personality alone would have attracted enough enemies for him to have died a few times. Although Yin Yang Child deserved a thrashing, at that moment, Yi Qingtang was not in the mood to chastise him. The current situation was more urgent than beating up a brat. No matter how powerful the ancient Yu clan is, they are at most Yin Yang perfected lords in this mainland. Yi Qingtang's gaze swept across everyone as she succinctly pointed out the crux of the matter. When they heard Yi Qingtang's words, everyone was stunned. Absolute Monarch of Heaven and the group of powerful cultivators from central mainland all looked thoughtful. Yi Qingtang's words gave them all an insight. Before they came to this mainland, all of them were at least at the arcane supremacy stage of martial cultivation. But, once they entered this mainland, their powers were all suddenly suppressed to the level of Yin Yang perfected lord. Further, this power of suppression was the strongest just after entering the mainland, and they could only achieve the fourth heaven of Yin Yang perfected lord. As time passed, the oppressive force slowly weakened, and the martial capabilities of the visitors entered the peak of Yin Yang perfected lord. This also meant that no matter how strong they were, once they came to this mainland, they would at most possess the peak strength of a Yin Yang perfected lord. Even a god would be the same. so what? How many yin-yang perfected lords does this mainland have when compared to the ancient Yu clan? They are on a completely different level. They will crush you just based on numbers. Yin-yang child was still unconvinced. Yi Qingtang did not refute this point. Although Yin-yang child was annoying, what he said was true. The ancient Yu clan's roots and culture went back at least 10,000 years. How could this mainland compare to them? When he saw that Yi Qingtang did not speak further, Yin-yang child was rather amused to no one arguing with him. In the end, he frowned and said, "I'm just saying that, perhaps there really is a solution. You don't need to be despondent. Yin-yang child, you really have an irritating mouth." The man in black armor glared at Yin-yang child and smiled coldly. Without his father's powerful reputation, Yin-yang child would probably have been beaten to death already for his irritating mouth. "He's right though," Yi Qingtang said as she glanced at Yin-yang child. Yi Qingtang never deceived herself and others. This mainland was not sufficiently united, and it was unrealistic to expect it to unite against the ancient Yu clan's invasion. Now, it was impossible for Yi Qingtang to single-handedly withstand the invasion of the ancient Yu clan. However, if people on this mainland could unite together, there might still be a sliver of hope. "Why haven't you left this mainland?" Yi Qingtang suddenly asked Absolute Monarch of Heaven and the others. She thought that the powerful cultivators from Central Mainland would leave after obtaining the treasure from the Divine Phoenix's inheritance. However, they unexpectedly remained in this mainland. She did not understand why they were still here. "Humph, do you think we don't want to leave?" The moment Yin-yang child recalled the matter, the corners of his mouth twitched, and he snorted coldly. "We don't know which wretch performed the forbidden formation on this mainland. There is temporarily no way out. This mainland was under the forbidden formation." A trace of shock surfaced in Yi Qingtang's eyes. For some reason, she suddenly thought of Ling Yan, whom she had not seen for some time. "In that case, why don't you stay and protect this mainland?" After a moment, Yi Qingtang laughed softly and asked. "Impossible." Yin-yang child immediately shook his head. "This is beyond our abilities. We have no wish to provoke the ancient Yu clan." Yi Qingtang looked at Yin-yang child and immediately nodded. She seriously and helplessly said, "In that case, I shall not force you. However, the ancient Yu clan is about to kill every living thing on this mainland. Since you can't leave now, when the time comes, the ancient Yu clan will exterminate you together with this mainland. Don't blame anyone then." The previously fearless and disdainful Yin-yang child's face immediately darkened at Yi Qingtang's words. How could he have overlooked this? Ha! The black-robed old man, who had obtained longevity from the Divine Phoenix, laughed. "What Miss Yi says makes sense. 10,000 years ago, this mainland was created from the spiritual abode of ancient Yu clan's most prominent and powerful figure. After the dimension wall cracked, the ancient Yu clan naturally came to this mainland to destroy everything and take back the spiritual abode. Now that we are situated in this mainland, we will probably be destroyed together with it. Based on the ancient Yu clan's modus operandi, they would destroy everything once they arrived in this mainland. The ancient Yu clan would naturally ignore people like them. Now that they were unable to leave this mainland, they would probably be destroyed along with it if they did not fight back." The Central Mainland people were sullen. They originally came here to obtain the Divine Phoenix inheritance, but now, they failed to obtain it and were embroiled into such a huge crisis instead. This was clearly forcing them to go through life and death with the people on this mainland. At this instant, they ever so dearly wanted to catch the person who laid the forbidden formation and trapped them in this place. If they did not give that person a beating, their resentment would not be resolved. The Central Mainland people looked at each other and saw despair in each other's eyes. Even if they wanted to leave now, it was impossible. If they wanted to keep their lives, they could only fight together with this mainland. The reaction of the masses fell into Yi Qingtang's eyes. A smile emerged in Yi Qingtang's eyes discreetly, and she said, "Please rest in the valley for a period of time. You may also take time to think things through, as it is not a small matter after all." She was not in a hurry at all. The ones who should be panicking were the powerful figures from the central mainland who were entrapped by the forbidden formation. Yin Yang child could only nod helplessly. Subsequently, perfected Xianchen walked forward and personally brought Absolute Monarch of Heaven and the rest into the guest rooms of Falling Sky Valley. Afterward, he settled down the people from Yi family and Si family. On the other hand, Yi Qingtang brought the two little kids into the room she used when she was a disciple in Falling Sky Valley. In the room, Yi Qingtang sat on the edge of her bed cross-legged and fully consolidated her yin-yang perfected Lord 8th Heaven realm. It was a pity that the attack of the Eye of Extermination had come to an end temporarily. Otherwise, if she could continuously absorb the energy of the arrows of extermination with her devouring bloodline, at this moment, the little boy walked to the bedside, and his big eyes blinked at Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang immediately hugged the boy and pinched his nose as she chuckled. "What is it?" "Their name." The little boy pointed at himself expectantly. Did this little fellow wish to know his name? Yi Qingtang looked at the little fellow, not knowing whether to laugh to cry. She had never thought of this before, but since this little fellow was so expectant, Yi Qingtang propped her chin on her hand and pondered for a moment. A smile emerged in her eyes subsequently, and she looked at the little boy. "From now on, you'll be called Little Luo Shui, all right?" "All right," little Luo Shui nodded obediently. Without waiting for Yi Qingtang to say anything else, the girl walked over as well and looked at Yi Qingtang expectantly. "You'll be called Little Yu Yun." Yi Qingtang looked at the girl and said. Little Yu Yun was delighted and nodded repeatedly. Although little Luo Shui and little Yu Yun were born not long ago, they were extremely intelligent and understood human language without any teaching. Although their articulation was muffled, there was not much impediment when Yi Qingtang conversed with them. "Mother." Little Luo Shui suddenly crawled to Yi Qingtang's side and patted Yi Qingtang's calves with his hands. "Amazing." A laugh escaped Yi Qingtang's mouth. Before she understood what this little fellow was doing, little Luo Shui suddenly pointed at Yi Qingtang uprightly, and then patted his own chest. I. Yi Qingtang looked at little Luo Shui's strange behavior and faintly threw a guess. "Could it be that you wish to be as powerful as me?" Upon hearing that, little Luo Shui nodded immediately, and his eyes shone brightly as though Yi Qingtang guessed what he wanted to say correctly. He clumsily grabbed Yi Qingtang's skirt with one hand and little Yu Yun's hand in the other. Prosect. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.